KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up on today's show, we've got a whole lot to cover, and what I described to Bill as just pure nightmare fuel first.
Yeah,
so
this
as a dad...
Scary. Oh. God, yeah.
Dude, this one crazy. A missing 15-year-old girl who had disturbing chats with men online walks in to a Colorado Springs police station 6 weeks after she disappeared.
Yeah, disappears in Utah. 6 weeks later, shows up at a police station in Colorado Springs asking for help and doesn't necessarily reveal how she got there. And now they've got some tracking and things they saw, but yeah, this is a nightmare. I mean,
right.
But through the grace of God, she's going to go home and she's going to be safe. But there are things that you assume had happened because she did make connections with one guy online. It was a total of 3 men. Yeah, lots and lots and lots of scariness here.
Guys with really bad backgrounds.
Yes, I mean, awful backgrounds.
This is an important learning moment for young people. When I explain to my kids that the person you likely may be talking to online, unless it's a friend you know from high school, right? Like, so you directly know.
Yeah.
But if somebody just shows up in your DMs, for instance, and this is why our kids don't have social media, but if someone shows up in your DMs, they're likely unemployed 40-year-old men living in basements in Eastern Bloc countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's got to be in your mind as to who you're likely talking to.
You have to figure out that Andrew Tate got those girls to do that stuff a certain way. Yeah. And it all started through social media and reaching out that way. And that's what's scary is that, as we all know, and you see it, our audience sees it all the time, with browsing and interactions you have on social media where everybody creates a persona, doesn't use their real name, can use just an avatar, their pictures. You can pretend to be whoever you are. We have stories of lawmakers having their staff create fake social media accounts to then praise the lawmaker. And that was required to be an employee. And there are reports of businesses doing that. So, you can't trust the person that you're talking to online as far as who they are. You've got to do some more due diligence and verification. But as kids,
and AI is going to
trusting.
make it worse.
Oh, it's going to be awful because you're going to be able to dupe voices.
Yep, exactly.
That's going to be scary. Yeah.
So this wild story, it happened over the weekend, but in light of everything that's been happening in Boulder, we're just going to be now covering it. But missing 15-year-old girl disappears for 6 weeks, shows up in Colorado Springs. We'll give you the latest news on that. We're also going to talk Boulder. Speaking of that, the family all rounded up. I mean, this happened so fast. The mom, the 5 kids of the attacker. What's the latest on the Boulder terrorist attack? We'll give that to you in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll talk Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and what's happening with the big, beautiful bill in the 18 o'clock hour. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Mitch Morrissey is going to be joining us, former DA of Denver, now the Owens-Early criminal justice fellow at the Common Sense Institute. We're going to talk about the backlog that's taking place with CBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, when it comes to DNA testing for rape. And as a result of that backlog, the number of rapes they think that are taking place each year because these guys aren't getting prosecuted quick enough You don't want to miss this conversation with Mitch in the 9 o'clock
hour.
We
always talk about the inefficiency sometimes and the delay and how long it takes government to do X, Y, or Z. Even former host of the show, George Brockler, lamented sometimes how difficult it is to get through the system. And just the other day, he talked about how the feds are not on the state timeline when processing information and evidence. He talked about the case in Boulder, that once you give the evidence to the feds, they don't care about your timeline. Making sure you stick to timelines is difficult. So that's why this case and this issue is very, very prescient, because this is an example of some of those governmental delays and backlogs directly impacting people's lives in Colorado. And when I mean impacting, I'm talking about rapists that are allowed to continue to commit those crimes because we can't get the evidence through the system in time to prosecute them. That should scare everyone.
Lots to talk about today. Now is time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good morning. Wednesday, hump day, 48 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 70 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says ICE and DHS have the family of the terrorist, Mohammed Solomon, in custody. They were living in the Springs. Officials say Solomon was in the country illegally when he drove to Boulder and tried to kill his victims on Pearl Street. Jeff and Bill had Congressman Crank on the show Tuesday, and he wants to know how he got a driver's license in Colorado. He knows, we all know, because the lefty state government here puts illegals ahead of citizens in this progressive blue state. All of the people injured in the attack are expected to survive, thank God. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern updated the condition of the victims on Wednesday, saying he can't imagine what the patients still hospitalized are going through. 3 people are still being treated for serious burns at UC Health University of Colorado Hospital. 20-year-old Joseph Koenig will spend the rest of his life in prison for his role in the deadly 2023 rock-throwing spree. Koenig was sentenced Tuesday in Jefferson County. He was found guilty of 19 charges in April, including a count of first-degree murder for the death of Alexa Bartell. Bartell died after a rock thrown at her car went through her windshield and hit her in the head. Koenig apologized for his actions during the hearing, saying he deserved the punishment. Elon says the big beautiful bill is a disgusting abomination and he just can't stand it anymore, and shames lawmakers who voted for it. Scott Jennings on CNN, his perspective.
I don't think that we're done with the bill yet. I mean, as you know, and as the reporting says, lots of changes are going to have to be made in the Senate to get it out of the Senate, and then those will have to be reconciled. The reconciliation will have to be reconciled with the House, and more changes still may come. I guess I want multiple things. I want the president to get his agenda. And the agenda, the core part of this, and the thing that is not negotiable, is the extension and making permanent the tax cuts, investment in border security, energy deregulation, the biggest welfare reform in recent history. I mean, these are non-negotiable, I think, to the president because it's what he ran on. But the Republicans should listen here to Elon when it comes to the national debt. We have work to do on this. We have governing responsibility. And maybe it doesn't come in this bill, but the rescissions packages to come and our other work to come here. Getting a handle on a $36 trillion debt is not going to be easy, but it is necessary because this is not sustainable.
Hospitals won't be required to perform emergency abortions after the 47 administration rescinded the Biden-era rule. The policy was enacted in 2022 by HHS that required doctors to perform abortions in emergency departments if it serves as a stabilizing treatment for an emergency medical condition. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight, Oilers and the Panthers and the Rockies. Hey, they've won 2 straight. Getaway day this morning in Miami at 10:10, early morning or late morning baseball today for Rockies fans. 46 in Westminster, 47 in Lone Tree, 48 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Friday, it's going to be cool and unsettled here along the Front Range with more rain chances. Low to mid-70s today, partly to mostly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunderstorms lingering into tonight. Lows upper 40s to near 50. Highs only 60s and lower 70s, mostly cloudy with more showers and thunderstorms likely Thursday through Friday. Warmer for the weekend with lower thunderstorm chances. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So this wild story developing out of Colorado Springs, missing 15-year-old girl who had disturbing chats with men online is found safe over 500 miles from home 6 weeks later. She was originally in Utah. It prompted the investigation of 3 men, including at least one who shared disturbing sex chats while trying to get her to meet him, has been found safe more than 500 miles away in Colorado. Alyssa Petrov, 15 years old, from South Jordan, Utah, walked into Colorado Springs Police Department on Sunday, 6 weeks after she disappeared. She's in good health, but cops have yet to determine how she got to the police station or if she was held against her will. There's still a lot of questions around this. Petrov was reported missing on April 21st, 2 days after her final message to a 41-year-old man with whom she had been having a series of very graphic conversations, according to an affidavit. "I'm running away. Please don't contact me," Petrov wrote at 12:34 a.m. April 19th in a message to an unnamed man in Utah whom she met on Discord. Do you know Discord, Bill? I don't know Discord.
It's basically just it's a chat service outside. I do it for video gaming. There are people that I follow and things. But it's basically like their own thread. So the idea is it sets up a community. So there are certain different communities that if I'm doing certain things in video games, you can get on the Discord server, you can ask questions. And most wonderful for me is because I'm not very good. So I can find people to carry me. So I kind of go out there and see who's got a nice big backpack. They can carry this loser through this mission and get this done. So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's where I'm familiar with it.
The man whom she was talking to, later identified as Samuel Mitchell, after police conducted a reverse search on the phone number he provided to Petrov. Their chats have become increasingly sexual, including discussions about graphic things, as well as planning to meet in person. Oh my gosh. Messages were discovered on Petrov's iPad, which she left behind in her bedroom. She had shared her Snapchat username with him, and some messages have been deleted. So Snapchat deletes these messages, I think, right? I don't have Snapchat either.
Yeah, it's a temporary. Yep.
Mitchell, 41, was arrested Wednesday and charged with 5 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony, and enticement of a minor. 2 other men were also charged for communicating with Petrov before her disappearance. William Taylor Glines, 37 years old, is in custody in Texas. And a second suspect, Matthew Menard, 35 years old, of Florida, turned himself in Wednesday night. Glines has been charged with aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, attempted aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, first-degree felonies, and criminal solicitation. Menard was also charged with aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, enticing a minor, and 3 counts of criminal solicitation. Petrov was this is the 15-year-old girl, was last seen on security video leaving a train platform in Provo. Her family had previously offered a $20,000 reward for any information leading to her safe return. I mean, this is one of the few ones that seems to turn out okay, because those predators out there, maybe I watched too much 2020, but you end up leaving with one of these guys and you disappear forever. If they're lucky, they maybe find your body. But this is one of those good reminders, and this is the reason I wanted to bring it up, is that if you've got teenagers out there, one, I think you limit social media until much later. Our kids won't get social media until they're 18 at least. But those chat apps that you may not know about, Discord, Snapchat, those other types of things, open the door for these kids. And then you end up with stories of the predators showing up at the house. Yeah.
And or just like this, in this case, the kid disappearing, and those social media chats can be severe problems. God, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show in the recent past, but we had a problem with our youngest when she was in middle school. She was not supposed to have social media, but she did download the app onto her phone, and she hid it. She hid it through several submenus on the phone. So our basic browsing and check would not have turned it up. We come to find out there were some other indications of things that had changed in her life. We went through and started asking some questions and found out that there were a group of older girls that were bullying her and were severely bullying her. And it went to the point where they were suggesting that she kill herself. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Our youngest had gone so far as to start to think about the idea and contemplate how it should be done. That's how dangerous this became.
Yeah.
And we luckily were able to identify who those people were and got the school district involved. Good. Because some of the messages were sent while they were in school. And that's important, because if they were outside, the laws and regulations and stuff are a little bit different. So once we found out that there was a series of messages that they sent during school time, now we had a lever we could really pull fairly easily. And it was difficult, and she's doing much better now. But yeah, that was a hard time. But again, she was having conversations and exposure to people that we had no idea. And these were people that, because they felt they were not being watched by the adults, could say and do things that adults would not approve of. And you better believe, if there's an adult out there looking to do something with a child that they don't want other adults to see, they're going to use this system as well. They're going to reach out blindly. They're going to try to cultivate these relationships. That's why even when you're playing video games online, you have to be very, very careful who your kids connect with inside those games.
Yes.
And then offline. Luckily, my kids have developed somewhat of my sarcastic personality. So as they've grown up, that has not been as fruitful for people to try to approach them on games. I've seen some things that have happened, and a couple of my girls, wow, yeah, they did a really good job shooting some of these people down. But yeah, it's really scary because it's outside of your purview as a parent. You always have the eagle eyes when you're watching your kid. You're looking at their friends. You're looking at where they go. You try to figure out who they're hanging out with. But this is a world that is insulated And unless you know how to navigate, it's very difficult to find out what's going on. And it is also very easy for your kids to prevent you from seeing what's going on. This is scary.
Right. That gaming chat was something that I didn't realize. And what we use as an app is called Family Link, which runs through Google.
Yeah.
And that allows us to see everything that's downloaded onto their phone.
Yeah.
And so that kind of prevents the hiding of things. And then you can also limit time, right?
Yep.
And then there's another system called Bark that we use that tracks chats and emails. And so it flags words. So if someone uses a word like, I think I might kill myself or something like that, that phrase gets flagged and then notifies the parent. So it's chat. So you got to do that. But inside these games, like Roblox,
there are chat features.
There's a chat feature that kind of bypasses a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. Now, the Discord thing, do you remember a couple of years ago, there was that military contractor that revealed some plans and then got picked up by the feds and the Biden administration and charged with putting some stuff out online? He was using Discord to do that. That's what he was doing. He was communicating with other people playing the similar game that he was doing, and that's where he posted it was on Discord. Yeah, that's where it happened.
Well, we'll continue to track this story. A missing 15-year-old girl disappeared 6 weeks ago in Utah, chatting with 3 men inappropriately online.
So scary.
And then randomly shows up in the Colorado Springs Police Department over the weekend. Not a lot of details on how she got there quite yet, but a reminder to parents everywhere. You got to be vigilant. I mean, kids get pulled in bad situations. They're lonely. Someone shows up, flattering conversations. Now they get pulled into stuff. And another thing out there that we've had to remind our family of is that no matter whom you're talking to, whoever you're talking to, if they ask for a picture of you, that picture now belongs to them and anybody they choose to share it with.
Yes.
And there are lots of cases. I remember talking with FBI agents here in Douglas County that said this happens to boys too, young boys, not just girls.
Oh, yeah.
Where they get blackmailed by extortion rings. So young girl shows up into the boys' DMs. Hey, send a picture to me. Was never a young girl.
Yeah.
Now they own, and what they do is they say, if you don't give us $10,000, we're going to notify all your family members and share this picture with them. You'll be embarrassed for life. And then there's been suicides that have come out of this.
Yeah, there are a number of suicides that have happened because of this. And we had the conversation with my kids, and the way that I explained it to them was just went and got a sleeve of Oreo cookies. And I said, here, ask me for a cookie. They go, can I have a cookie? Sure. I gave them the cookie. I said, now, since I gave you that cookie, can I tell you how you get to eat the cookie? Can I tell you where you're going to eat the cookie? Can I tell you can't split that cookie and share it with your brother or sister? Can I tell you can't go outside and eat that cookie? Can I tell you can't? No, I can't tell you any of that. Yeah, same thing with the picture you give to somebody. Same thing. It's no longer your cookie. It's no longer your picture. As soon as you send that to someone else, you have given it to them. You give up all the rights, all the control. If you can't give me a cookie and then tell me how to eat the cookie, don't think you can give me a picture and then tell me what you can do with the picture. Yeah, can't do it. Yeah, don't share cookies.
On. All right, let's talk alarm detection systems. We know in Colorado, as a result of these weak district attorneys, not George Brockler, but some of the other ones out there who are allowing crime, no cash bail. I mean, we're going to get into it later with Mitch Morrissey, this DNA backup with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, that criminals are out there. We know Colorado has a very serious crime problem, and if you're running a business in Colorado, you've got to get very serious about your alarm system so you can make sure your business is ready to open tomorrow. Reliability is not optional when business security is on the line. It's essential. Businesses here in Colorado trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about all the time you could be saving using one source for cameras, key card access, fire and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same day or next-day service upon request. Dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms, and over 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time, trusted by small and large businesses, including many Colorado schools. Their security experts will review your system for free. Go to adsalarm.com to schedule your appointment today. adsalarm.com. Alarm detection systems, the first choice of Front Range and Colorado businesses. adsalarm.com. You're welcome to join the conversation talking this missing 15-year-old found safe 6 weeks later, 500 miles from home, all because she started chatting with 40-year-old men online. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Really important. Stay on top of this with regards to what programs your kids are using out there. There are a lot of predators. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, getting text messages about what's happening southbound I-25 north of Denver and road closure. They've closed down all of I-25 heading south from North Denver. This is near 104th Avenue. And traffic cams look like a semi-truck with fuel spilling and lots of emergency responders.
Yeah, this comes to us from Jason Luber over at Channel 7. 4 cars and a semi-truck involved in a crash southbound I-25 just around 104th Avenue. It is blocking all lanes, and this is going to take a while to clean up. So you're going to have to do everything you can to avoid that area. Start looking at Google Maps, ways to get around it right now. This cleanup is going to take some time, according to Jason Luber. The semi-truck's fuel tank ruptured during the wreck. Again, 4 cars and a semi involved in a crash. The semi-truck's fuel tank ruptured during the wreck. Cleanup crews are going to have to soak up all that fuel, and the other 4 cars are going to have to be towed as well. This is a cleanup that could take all morning. That's my impression of what Jason's describing. But again, 4 cars and a semi-truck involved in a crash southbound I-25 just at 104th Avenue. It is blocking all lanes. That thing is going to be shut down for a long time. The semi-truck's fuel tank ruptured. They're going to have to clean it up, soak it up, get it all off the asphalt and concrete, and also move all of those wrecked cars and the semi-truck out of the way as well. Again, long delay. Traffic is being diverted off the highway. The traffic speedometer shows 0 miles per hour. So this is going to turn into a parking lot. Do whatever you can to avoid southbound I-25 before you get to 104th. Do not get on the highway. Do whatever you can. Yeah, do whatever you can to get an alternate path. If you have to go through neighborhoods, again, respect speed limits, but still. And if you need to leave the house a little bit earlier, tell the boss you're going to be a little bit late. This is going to be a difficult one to get around this morning. So we'll keep you updated as we can. 4 cars, semi-truck involved in a crash southbound I-25 just around 104th Avenue. All southbound lanes are closed and will be for some time. This will be a no-go for some time, so get around it the best you can. Good luck.
What a traffic report from Bill Thorpe live in the 710K US traffic copter.
Might have done that in my previous life as well.
Dude,
yes, I've done traffic reports. Yes, I've been on radio. Yes, I've done traffic reports.
Does anybody have a traffic copter anymore? Does any news station have a copter?
I think they have a shared copter. I think Nine's got one, and I think 4 and 7 were sharing or something. There was a share for a while because, oddly enough, helicopters are very expensive, and there isn't a lot of reason for every TV station to have their own copter.
Everybody's got a cell phone these days.
Yeah, that's the problem. And there is, though, radio copter and, flights. I guess I think there was a flight a little while ago. They're still going up in the plane, but I'm not even sure if they're using the plane anymore. So, yeah, that was disappointing. I was telling you off air, I used to work with Don Martin, Tony LaMonica, so I've done those traffic copters and everything else. Don Martin back in the day, this is a thing pulling back the curtain on KOA. When they were doing traffic reports on KOA, not as big deal in the morning, but the afternoon, this was a big deal. People recall the Sport Zoo with Logan and Hastings. They were never in delay. You could have said the F word on the air and gotten away with it because of Don Martin's traffic. He couldn't listen to pre-delay, so we had to be out of delay in order to get the traffic report, or he would miss his cue. So the number of times we flew without a net on the Sports Zoo, and think about that way. You've got Logan and Hastings, and you're flying without a net most of the time on the air. That was spooky times. Yeah, that was fun, though.
Remember that Simpsons episode where the helicopter crashes?
Yes.
It's like reported to you traffic caused by the crash of the
helicopter. Yes,
traffic copter.
News 5 helicopter. Yes, that was an amazing one. But yeah, so again, once again, 4 cars, semi-truck involved in a crash southbound I-25 just around 104th Avenue. Everything is blocked going southbound. All those lanes are going to be closed. They've got to clean up the fuel tank that ruptured from the semi. This is going to be stopped for a while. Avoid that area as best way you can. You've got to get around it. It's going to take you longer to get to work if you're in that area of the town. So our apologies. I'm sorry that Wednesday sucks. We'll try to make it better.
All right, let's talk L&L heating and air conditioning. Our air conditioning went out last summer, and it was like right around the 95, 98, 100 degree time of late July and August. Our line got frozen, And so we called out a number of folks to take a look at
Jeff got tired
what
of
was
hearing,
happening.
Dad, I'm so hot.
Right.
I'm so hot. He got tired of that, so he had to find the best of the best to stop that whining.
And to be fair, I left during the day to go to work, and they're stuck in the house all day.
Smartest man in
the
town.
Summer
Good job.
with no AC. Bottom line, they hadn't improved the system since they built the house. It was builder grade, AC and furnace and all that. And I think we were the third owners of the house that we're currently in now. So it had gone through some hands and upkeep and all that stuff, but it was just outdated. And so we started looking and researching and talked with a number of different HVAC companies. And the folks we chose, and I'm so glad we did, is L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. They absolutely nailed it at our house. 1-day installation, no stress, personal service from start to finish. This is a small mom and pop operation out in Parker, Elizabeth area. I've toured their facilities. Great folks, very kind, very accessible. Our home totally comfortable no matter what the weather. And with L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, we got more peace of mind. Here's some of the deals that they're offering right now. A free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector with new furnace or air conditioner installation. No emergency charges. You're not going to nickel and dime you when you're dealing with a problem and all that stress. $0 trip fee. Price match value guarantee on equipment. Free estimates. Licensed and insured. And a 5-year labor warranty. So when I talk about price match value, they'll match anybody that you meet out there. So you get a good deal with somebody, they'll match it. So and you'll get personal service. That's why this thing is the best choice. Everything works great in our family. We couldn't be happier. So if you're looking for fast, honest, reliable service, I highly recommend L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. 720-851-1691. 720-851-1691. Online at bestdenverhvac.com. bestdenverhvac.com. I'm sure glad we called him. That number again, 720-851-1691. Bill, I want to ask you, going back to the story of this 15-year-old girl that disappears for 6 weeks and then shows up in the Colorado Springs Police Department. She'd been chatting with 3 different men online. It's like terrible horror
so
story
scary.
stuff.
And as a parent,
but thank God she survived, right? And I think this is a lesson learned. Question for you. Do you think kids run away as much as they used to?
Sorry, there's a funny story. I'll tell you in a second about that one.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
And I think here's the reason why.
Yeah.
They've grown up with their phones.
Yeah.
And you can track these things wherever they go now. So what you're asking a kid to do is to shut down their entire life, which is online. How they entertain themselves, right? They watch videos and streaming, play video games, chat with their friends. Like that wasn't an issue when we were kids. So if you ran away, you went to a friend's house and hung out there, and your parents had to go around the neighborhood and call everybody to figure out where you were. Yeah. Now everybody just opens up an app, and they're like, oh, they're just down the street.
And also you can connect with the friends or the parents of your kids' friends a lot quicker because of cell phones. I hadn't thought about that. The idea that the cell phone creates this electronic tether that makes it more difficult for the kids to necessarily break away. I don't know. I'd love to see statistics because, there were, a decent amount of runaways when we were younger for a variety of reasons. In fact, you go back to one of the very, very, very first John Bon Jovi hits before he actually had a band. His first album had a huge hit on that called Runaway. And it's all done with studio musicians. But that story came to John based on him making the trek from New Jersey into Manhattan and all the young ladies that he saw running away from dangerous situations at home over the course of years while he was trying to make it as a musician. So that song is a direct reflection on the young women that he saw running away from where he was living in Jersey and trying to make it big in New York. So, yeah, I'm not certain about that one. But I do want to ask you a question, though. So everybody on the radio station that has tried to run away, please raise your hand. Hey, Jeff and I both.
Too.
Okay.
Yep.
My story is rather embarrassing. What's your story? You
Oh,
want to
mine's
share?
totally embarrassing. Did you talk to my parents? Is this?
No.
Are you serious?
No, this is funny
hilarious.
because you asked this, and my mom brought it up to me like about 5 days ago. So the fact that you asked this, I'm like, that's why I started laughing when you asked me.
My parents never let me listen. I go home for Thanksgiving, and
my
it's
God,
the
mine
same
too.
thing. Do you remember the time you ran away and you took toilet paper with you?
Okay, we were at my mom's retirement community, and we were going to lunch, and people that are standing in line as we're walking in, because there's a little bit of a line as we're walking in to get seated. The people behind us go, "Oh, your mom told us how you ran away." I'm like, "Hey," I'm like, "I don't even know these people."
Thing.
Okay,
That's hilarious.
Who wants to go first?
Mine's relatively quick. I think it was like 7 or something. I got mad, and I was like, "I'm running away. I'm storming up."
Yes. Oh yeah.
And then I packed my backpack and I took toilet paper with me, and my parents thought that was hilarious.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Like I'm 7 years old, or 9 or whatever, and I'm walking down the driveway angry at my parents, and I thought to myself, I didn't take food or water. I took toilet paper with me.
Oh my
God! So
God!
I've never lived that thing down. I mean, it's every Easter.
Okay.
Jeff, remember the time you ran away with toilet paper?
Okay, got a story that may help you a little bit. You can say, "Oh yeah, well, guess what my partner on radio did?" This would be I'm probably 5 or 6. Huge temper tantrum, as in I'm through with this family. Y'all suck. This is and I tear my room apart. Tear it apart and pack my bag, my little backpack, and I go and I proudly announce, "That's it, I am running away." And I get down out the front steps and go down the porch, and I get down to the front steps, and I'm standing in front of the house, and I'm so mad. I am so mad, and I have no idea where I'm going. So I stand there and just fuming for a couple of minutes, proudly stomp back into the house, stand in the middle of the living room, and then proclaim to the rest of the family, "I have nowhere to go, so you have to leave. Get out." And then I sit down on the floor and begin to pout. And my parents just laugh at me, which isn't helping the situation. So, and the best part about it was after I calmed them down, and they're like, "Okay," I still remember my dad patting me on the head and then on the back and go, "And now you get to go clean up your room." And I'm like, "Oh, damn." That took the rest of the day.
How old were you when that happened?
Probably 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Yeah.
So I'm always reminded about the fact that how I decided to run away and then tried to kick my parents out of the house.
Right.
So share that one at Easter next time they try to embarrass you. I got you.
have nowhere to go.
Yes, so you have to leave. Yes. Yeah, it didn't help that during that time when I'm pouting, my dad said, "Jesse goes, I can call the police. They'll come get you." That didn't help at all. Oh yeah, you want to see him? He wound me up. Oh my God, it was great. Yeah. That was so good.
My mom would offer to take us to the orphanage. Did that
yes,
ever happen
absolutely,
to you guys?
absolutely.
And she would even like pull out the yellow book and go, "I'm looking them.
Yeah,
I'm
right now
them.
I'm looking. I'm at the G's. Don't let me get to the O's." Yes. Oh yes. Oh my God. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh boy. Well, that's all lighthearted stuff. At least this 15-year-old girl has made it home. Apparently, between 1.6 and 2.8 million youth a year run away, and nearly all of them come back.
Yeah.
Within about 24 hours.
Yeah. Or they just stand on the front sidewalk and then tell their parents to leave because they're idiot 5-year-old kids. I'm such an idiot.
All right. We've got a lot coming up, including You Choose the News next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, it's that time of the morning, especially for those of you stuck in that I-25 traffic. By the way, here's a text message from 2946. So many wrecks in the area of I-25 these days. I'm so tired of drivers going way too fast or completely oblivious to what's happening around them. I agree. We'll be going down I-25, 5, 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and we get passed by guys that easily could be going over 90.
Oh, yeah. There's a stretch of 225 that's right outside where our home base here is at 710 KNUS. We're basically Parker Road and 225. If you start going beyond Parker Road towards 70, the stretch from about Iliff to just before 70, during parts of the day, I refer to as the Aurora Autobahn, because the speed limit is irrelevant. It does not matter. It's literally just as fast as you can go without the police catching you. That's it. There's no other rules at all. And it's a little scary sometimes. That the problem is, I don't have an issue if you're competent in going fast, but I haven't seen that behavior.
No.
For the people that are doing it.
Competence and recklessness don't go well together.
Exactly.
Well,
it's a mess.
If you missed a traffic report, southbound I-25 at 104th, completely blocked all lanes, car accident between 4 cars and a semi-truck. Fuel on the highway there. It's going to take all morning to clean up. So you have a total shutdown of the main artery, I-25, from North Denver heading southbound into Denver at 104th, completely shut down.
And so far, the backups right now are running all the way back to 120th. So basically, if you're trying to jump on 120th and going south, no, do not pass go, do not collect $100, $200, just get around it. Avoid southbound I-25 starting at 120th for the foreseeable future in the morning. This is going to take a long time. Not sure if they'll have it cleaned up by the end of your morning commute. But we'll keep you updated. We'll give you all the updates with Susan Phelan on traffic, and we'll keep an eye on it as well with help from Jason Luber over at Channel 7. But it is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions. Yes. It's You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. You know how this happens. I spend mere moments this morning scouring the interwebs to find really dumb stories about us humans. It's surprisingly easy. And then I give them more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Seems like a really silly thing to do at this time of the morning. Well, yeah, it is, of course. Why? Because Jeff and I are left unsupervised. Those people in charge don't wake up until 7 o'clock. Once we found out about that, yeah, you're talking to two guys who used to try to run away when we were kids. Of course we're going to do something like this. It's expected. Okay? So that's what happens. This is You Choose the News, and of course, we always got to find someone that we can bring in to share the blame, and that's Blake Olson. We're bringing him in from the news department.
Because if you're going to be in trouble,
yes.
be in trouble together.
Yes, exactly. More people to spread the blame. Easier that way. Alrighty, so Blake Olson's in the news department. Jeff Hunt is in the studio. Gentlemen, here are our stories this morning. Headline number 1, spreading the love. Headline number 2, break like the wind. Headline number 3, in the eye of the beholder. And headline number 4, apple and tree example. Mr. Hunt.
Let's break like the wind, please.
Yes, break like the wind. Shout out to everybody that recognizes the Spinal Tap reference there. A Dutch weather forecast recently has accused Belgium of stealing their wind. Yes, their wind, the air. Yes. The Dutch weather forecaster is saying that wind farms in Belgium are stealing the wind from other Dutch installations. Yes, the idea is that Dutch wind farms and their really cute, super cute windmills aren't able to be as efficient because the wind is disrupted by earlier Belgian wind farms. This weather forecaster is saying that it's a decrease of at least 3% of wind energy from the Dutch installations, and that's wind energy they'll never get back unless everybody stands in front of the turbines and goes all together, or maybe a big balloon or something. I don't know. It's really weird though, but basically he's saying that how the Belgians have stacked their wind farms, it disrupts the flow of wind downstream.
Down, right?
Yep, and so they don't get as much power later on. So yes,
if only God gave us something like dead dinosaurs to build our energy off of. Maybe we wouldn't be having these.
Or we just set up a big fan on the other side of the wind things and I'm just saying. It's just giant fan that just blows at the. Oh well, maybe I'm overthinking this.
Use the coal to build another
to build
fan.
a big giant fan to blow the fan for the wind energy. See, that's what you're getting here.
Exactly what Colorado
saving the
lawmakers
birds,
will do.
though.
Yes. These are the solutions you get from two people that tried to run away before the age of 10. So that's how good we are at this. Alrighty, now.
Hey, I brought toilet paper.
You did think this through a lot better than I did. I will tell you that one. You did plan ahead a lot better than I did. All right. Now, Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Spreading the love, eye of the beholder, or apple and tree example?
Let's spread the love.
Yeah, spread the love. This comes to us from the Daily Nigerian. It says right now that students in Nigeria are finding a great way to pay for college. This is allowing poorer students to have access to educational opportunities they never had before. And all they got to do is spread a little love. What do I mean by that? College students in Nigeria are in such demand for their sperm and eggs. They are such fertile donors that they are getting enough money just through donations to cover their college tuition. So let me go through that again. Students in Nigeria are able to donate eggs or sperm in such vast quantities, they're able to cover college tuition. Wow. Just saying, I had a friend in college that probably did a whole bunch of donation to sperm. He probably could have paid for a doctorate, but that was alone in his room. It wasn't in a clinic. I'm just saying.
PhD.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Just saying that if this was an opportunity, a lot of people that could have cut down on the student loans. This is not fair. What do we do about this? Okay. Okay. All righty. Now, final choice this morning, sir.
How did you know? No,
I'm not going to answer that because we're roommates, and I'm not answering that one because it's really awkward, and the walls were thin.
I'm confused.
No, the walls were really thin. It was not good. Not good. No. And I don't want to say anything more because I'm going to get in trouble. Okay. Jeff Hunt, final choice this morning, sir. I can still hear the sounds. Okay. It like wakes me up at the night. Okay. Now, Jeff Hunt, in the eye of the beholder, her apple and tree example.
Oh, let's get off of this with apple and tree example, please.
He said get off. Okay, apple and tree.
He did.
Yes, okay. Now, I'm awful. Okay. North Carolina mom is accused of coming to school during a meeting about her daughter being involved in a fight at school. And, well, mom said, yeah, fight. That was no fight. I'll show you a fight. Yes, the mom got into a fight with one of the administrators and the principal, grabbing the principal around her neck and choking her. Again, during a disagreement over a fight her student got into at school.
And we wonder why and how the child got into these fights.
Yes.
It's always the parents.
Yes,
it's always the parents.
Exactly. The 33-year-old mother was arrested and charged with assaulting a school employee and second-degree trespassing, but she proudly says, I kicked her ass! Well, maybe I added that part at the end, but still. I love the fact that mom's called the school over the fact that her daughter's fighting, and she goes in and lays the beat down. You're like, perhaps. Can we suspend everybody? Oh, man. Well, this has been fun. That's the end of You Choose the News. Back to you,
sir.
All
right, we're going to give you an update on the Boulder terrorist attack in the next hour, including ICE now detaining and possibly removing the wife and 5 children. Not going to want to miss this. We'll give you the latest. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We all know Colorado's a deep shade of blue. America, proudly red. Well, it all meets right here on the Jeff and Bill Show as your center, left, right debate show, where you're invited to be a part of the conversation and would love to hear from you this hour, especially on this issue. ICE now detaining the family of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street Mall attack for expedited removal. Where's the due process crowd? I'm listening. I'm hearing a lot of crickets right now from the due process crowd that were out there chanting, due process, due process. Well, when there's an expedited removal around the family of a terrorist, all of a sudden they're a little quiet about it now. Should the family be kicked out of this country? I think so, but want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Should this guy be deported, or should he serve his sentence here in America and taxpayers pay the bill? This terrorist that attacked 12 Jews in Boulder. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. Now it's time for the man you've been waiting for. News and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. 50 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 70 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, before I get to that, if you're heading southbound on I-25, take Colorado or take 287 this morning because of that wreck up north. ICE and DHS have the family, as Jeff said, of terrorist Mohammed Solomon in custody and moving to deport them. He has a wife and 5 kids. See ya! They were living in the Springs. Solomon was in the country illegally when he drove to Boulder and tried to kill his victims on Pearl Street. We all know that he's from Egypt. All the people injured in the attack are expected to survive, thankfully. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern updated the condition of the victims Wednesday. 3 people are still being treated for serious burns at UC Health, the University of Colorado Hospital. 20-year-old Joseph Koenig will spend the rest of his life in prison for his role in the deadly 2023 rock-throwing spree. Koenig was sentenced Tuesday in Jefferson County. He was found guilty of 19 charges in April, including a count of first-degree murder for the death of Alexa Bartell. Bartell died after a rock thrown at her car went through her windshield and hit her in the head. Koenig apologized for his actions during the hearing, saying he deserved the punishment. Elon hates the big, beautiful bill and shames lawmakers who voted for it. CNN's Scott Jennings with the perspective after talking with Elon recently.
A few weeks ago, and he told me he's here to try to make America not go bankrupt. I mean, this is on his mind. We have a $36 trillion debt, and it should be on all of our minds. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that we're done with the bill yet. I mean, as you know, and as the reporting says, lots of changes are going to have to be made in the Senate to get it out of the Senate, and then those will have to be reconciled. The reconciliation will have to be reconciled with the House, and more changes still may come.
We have only just begun in that one. Stay tuned. It all starts again here in a few minutes in D.C. The defamation trial of MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is underway in Denver. Former Dominion Voting Systems employee Eric Coomer is suing Lindell for allegedly spreading conspiracy theories and accusing Coomer of treason and fraud following the 2020 presidential election. Coomer's lawyers called Lindell's claims extreme and outrageous during opening arguments on Wednesday, saying they led to death threats and overwhelming stress for the client. Lindell's attorneys say he truly believes there was widespread fraud during the 2020 election and that Lindell is protected by the First Amendment. A California track and field story that doesn't involve a boy in girls' sports.
For that title. The greatest moment of 16-year-old Clara Adams' young career taken away from her because of a celebration. After winning the 400-meter event at the CIF State Championships with a time of 53.24 seconds, her dream of winning a state title went up in flames after celebrating using a fire extinguisher.
When she blew the fire extinguisher, the opponents were gone. That was our moment of celebration. And the CIF officials made that about them. The crowd went crazy. They loved it. The booth, CIF booth went crazy. They loved it. But those few guys in those jackets, they took offense to it, didn't like it, and they made a decision based on emotions.
The North Salinas High sophomore grabbed a fire extinguisher from her father and coach and extinguished off her spikes. The CIF deemed her celebration unsportsmanlike, stripping her of her title.
Okay. The dad's crying because he gave his daughter, he's also the coach, a fire extinguisher to spray off her track cleats because they were so hot. They were on fire and she won the state championship. Okay, they probably shouldn't have taken her medal away, her state championship. But, dude, the problem I have here is the dad thinks it's a good idea to give your sophomore daughter a fire extinguisher to act like Maurice Green. Maurice Green did this years ago. He was a sprinter, so she was imitating that. Yeah. It's poor sportsmanship. They should have warned her and said, you do that again, that crap's being taken away.
Yeah, here's the thing. In high school athletics, for me, this was kind of the rule, and it's if you're involving props in your celebration, you've crossed a line.
Thank you.
That's the issue, is this is not that difficult to discern. Once she brings a prop into her race celebration, now you've crossed the line. Yes. That becomes taunting. That becomes, it's just
celebrate with the other competitors.
Yes.
Congratulate them. Jump up and down, scream, whatever. But her dad is, dad says the crowd loved it. And the announcers loved it, and everybody at the whole stadium loved it. They loved her showing off and bringing a prop. I mean, she's only a sophomore. What are they going to do next year? Back up a fire truck?
Here's the thing.
They roll out the hoses?
And they were only doing this really for like social media. Really, that's the only reason. Because you wouldn't do this type of an elaborate celebration if you were just doing it for the people that were there. This is about social media. This is about doing it for the gram. The point is this, that no one knows the timeline. They could have waited until after she won and they announced the winners. They could have walked over to a side of the stadium and they could have done the entire thing and go, she just won this, and then do the whole fire extinguisher thing and have people behind her cheering. They could have set this up. The idea of being, these influencers, the things they're showing you isn't always what's happening in real life. Sometimes those things are manipulated. So they could have still gotten the shot and what they wanted without doing it there and breaking the rules and breaking the ethics. Yeah. Exactly. So it's just, But again, it's a good time for her to learn now.
Good. Yes. And for evidently for the dad to learn. Hopefully he learned something.
Yes.
I hope.
I know.
Yeah, come on,
dude. You could have done that in the parking lot. You could have done it. They could have done it after medal ceremony. There could have been a ton of things. After the medal ceremony, it would have been great. You could have stood her up in front of the crowd, had the crowd cheer behind her. It would have been a much better shot than this stupid thing. Yeah.
Only in California.
Only California.
Then I say that, and it'll happen tomorrow in Colorado. Game 1 Stanley Cup Finals tonight. We got the Oilers and the Panthers and the Rockies. Hey, they're on a streak. They've won 2 straight. Getaway day this morning in Miami at 10:10. 47 in Arvada, 49 in Aurora, and 50 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Friday, it's going to be cool and unsettled here along the Front Range with more rain chances. Low to mid-70s today, partly to mostly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunderstorms lingering into tonight. Lows upper 40s to near 50. Highs only 60s and lower 70s, mostly cloudy with more showers and thunderstorms likely Thursday through Friday. Warmer for the weekend with lower thunderstorm chances. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We got a lot of text messages coming in on this one. Channel 7 headline, ICE detains family of man charged in Boulder Pearl Street mall attack for, quote, expedited removal, unquote. Secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said the family of the Boulder firebombing suspect, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, was taken into immigration custody. In a post on X, Noem said, today, DHS and ICE are taking the family of suspected Boulder, Colorado terrorist and illegal alien Mohammed Solomon into ICE custody. This terrorist will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We are investigating to what extent his family knew about this heinous attack, if they had knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. I'm continuing to pray for the victims of the attack and their families. Justice will be served. The White House posted on X later on Tuesday stating that Solomon's wife and 5 children are in Immigration and Custom Enforcement custody for expedited removal, which could be as early as last night, Tuesday night. Talk about quick. That's used to take persons that are considered national threats or national security concerns, and because of this, they're able to take them out of the country, said an immigration attorney here in Denver. It's likely the family will be kept together as certain detention centers have family units. However, in Colorado, ICE detention centers do not have family units. It's very likely, especially if they're trying to expedite removal, that they're just going to keep them all together and try to get them out of the country all together at the same time. Do you hear those protests? Do you hear the due process? Where the? Let me check online here. Oh, nope, no due process protests anymore. Wow, it's gotten real quiet. Now that you got a terrorist and his family that the country's trying to get out of here. Solomon, who was born in Egypt, moved to Kuwait and then to the United States in 2022 on a tourism visa. The department noted Solomon had filed for asylum in September of 2022. So remember, Joe Biden's the president then. He'd been living in the U.S. illegally with his expired visa since February 2023. The results of the asylum claim still at this point are not clear. Solomon was arrested and booked in the Boulder County Jail on Sunday after he threw Molotov cocktails at demonstrators in Boulder who were calling for the release of Israeli hostages, injuring 12 of them. Authorities said Solomon had planned to kill them all, but apparently had second thoughts. The 45-year-old suspect was disguised as a gardener and had 18 Molotov cocktails, but threw just 2 during the Sunday attack while he yelled, "Free Palestine." The 2 incendiary devices he did throw at the group of about 20 people staged during their weekly demonstration were enough to injure more than half of them, and authorities said he expressed no regrets about the attack. He's currently being held on a $10 million bond. So here's the question I got to our listeners. You happy to see the family go? Would you like to see him go? Because taxpayers are going to fit the bill to $60,000 a year to keep him in this country to serve his justice and his punishment. So $60,000 a year, make him pay, separate the family. Is it fair to make the family pay the consequences of this guy's actions? What did his kids have to do with this? But now they've got to get deported. What do you think about this? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115.
Now, Jeff, you were talking, and before we get to the phone calls, you were talking about where are the people claiming for a due process. I'll take up that challenge. I think the family needs to face due process if we're going to deport them. I'm not convinced they fall under the expedited deportation orders that Kristi Noem has outlined. I don't think that covers them in this situation. But even if we do, and I know there are going to be callers and texts that say, yes, this entire family should get out of the country, do we hold other members of the family responsible for one individual's crimes? If we do, then I can see the point. If we don't, it's a little harder to make the case in my mind that the entire family needs to go. I'm not arguing that these individuals are the best, the brightest, or anything else as far as staying here. The question I have is, are we now going to hold family members responsible for the crimes of other family members?
This, to me, goes to the idea that if you want to break the law and live in this country illegally, the best thing to do is keep your head down. Because right now, if you get picked up for a traffic infraction, the entire family that's here illegally is getting sent out, let alone burning Jews in Boulder in the streets. If you're going to do that, you clearly don't respect our laws. You're a violent terrorist. You're attacking some of the nicest, kindest people we have in this country, which makes up the Jewish community. You have raised your hand to tell the whole world you and your entire family should be kicked out of this country. That's how I see it. Let's go to the phone lines. Rick, Denver. Good morning, Rick. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning. I heard on the broadcast report last night that some judge over there set the bail at $10 million.
That's right.
We'd have to be wondering the way things are going that maybe somebody's going to try to come up with a $10 million.
Yeah, there's plenty of pro-Palestinian supporters out there. I wouldn't be surprised, but
that's by the state district judge, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, the bond. You're correct that the bond is $10 million at this point.
Well, I feel sorry for the wife and kids. So.
They chose to marry this guy. I mean, look, it's not like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, kids
didn't choose him.
Kids didn't get to choose who your parents are, but
my kids remind me that all the time.
You know,
how old are the kids? Are they anywhere grown up?
We know one just graduated from high school, so likely around 18 years old. And if that's the case, that person could get their own attorney. I believe it's a girl. She could end up with her own attorney in defense and all that. But I don't think these kids were born here unless they were born in the last 3 years. And whether or not they're an American citizen, I haven't seen yet. But they didn't arrive here until 2022.
Well, there may be a chance they like life here and they might want to stay. That's also I hope they consider that. But no, it's just terrible.
Well, if you grew up in a house...
I couldn't believe there was any bond set at all for it.
I think they're required to provide bond, even though it's high.
Yeah,
I think
Colorado,
you're required to at least have a bond, but it can be set really high. But in this case, you have kids raised by a terrorist.
Yep.
You have kids raised by a terrorist. I'm sorry. I know you didn't pick. It's kind of how I feel about DACA. Like I understand you're not put in a fair situation, right? But guess what? Life's not fair. And it's not up to the American people to just hope and pray that the kids raised by terrorists don't end up being terrorists themselves.
Yeah, that's an issue. Thank you.
Rick, great call. Appreciate it. Rick's line from Denver is going to be open, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Tony, Aurora, good morning. Tony, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning, fellas. I enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a conservative black man. I have to mention race now because we're in that kind of culture now. Because if you're a white person, I wouldn't want to be a white person now because you're blamed for everything. First, it was slavery. Even though you were born in the '60s, y'all are blamed for everything. So, it's bad for y'all. But they gotta go. They gotta go because kids imitate the atmosphere. You have a new kid now, a new teenager. They go by what they see on media. They are influenced by other sources. These are not normal little kids no more. They are influenced by what they see. So the whole family has to go. Plus, under the Biden administration, so many people came here who don't have American values. Back in the day when people came to the Statue of Liberty, they came for the American dream. They came for the American dream, not their dream. They left their dream back from where they come from. When you come for the American dream, you got to learn American ways. These new people come for the game. They come to use us. They come to take. How are you going to come to our country and criticize somebody and throw bombs at our Jewish brothers and sisters? The same thing happened to the couple in Washington, D.C. No, you don't come here for that. You come to enjoy the positive American values. You don't come here to kill and to march. That's why the college campuses, that's why Trump's going to take some of the funding from the college campuses. Don't come here tripping. No, you come here and enjoy the American values. You don't come with your own personal evil intent. The sad part about Colorado, the Trojan horse is already in. You got to get these people out of here because Colorado is a whole nother place now. We're going through a cultural renovation. This is different out here now. If you want to find out how many people are in this country, go to Walmart around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like a third world country. You can count the Americans and poor older white people here. The older white people here over 80 years old, they are lost. They are confused. They don't know what's going on. They want to say something, but you can see it on their face. They're saying, "What in the world is going on here?" Colorado had its own identity once upon a time. Everything changed after the legalization of weed and COVID. When the legalization of weed and COVID came, everything changed. I know everywhere is different now, but Colorado had its own little magic to it. There was nothing like Colorado, man. Come from New York.
Tony, I got a question for you. You were talking about the idea of, now white people being blamed for everything else. What do you think about this terrorist family? Should they be deported or should they stay here? And the reason I ask that is, if you say deported, are you blaming them for sins they didn't commit?
It's not a blame. You have to pay. You have to pay the price to the piper.
But Tony, though, what did the family do? They didn't go to Boulder. They didn't build, from what we know, they didn't build the Molotov cocktails. They didn't perpetrate this idea. They didn't participate in the attack. So what sins are they paying for?
We also don't know if they're here legally as well.
Tough. Your daddy did it. See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Would you hold that true? Would you hold that true for something like families of people that are involved in other crimes, murder, rape? Let's say someone's convicted of rape. Should we also put their family in jail? We can even go for white-collar crime. If you're convicted of stealing tens of millions of dollars from your company, should your family also serve prison?
You know what, boy, you got me on that one. But you know what? You're bringing up variations of good points, though. It's hard to choose. On this one, you really have to change the narrative. You got to pick one. And you're right, kind sir. I can't argue with you. You're Bill, right?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm the problem child.
Yeah, Bill, you're excellent. No, you're great, by the way. You're so right, but you have to pick a crime. Pick one. One crime don't go along with the other crime. On this one, the family got to go because it's a terrorist kind of thing. On what you're saying about the murder and the other variations, no. You have to pick your crime. Every crime is not the same.
In this case, too, we don't know if they're here legally. And what you're seeing from the Trump administration and the message that needs to go to all the illegal immigrant families that are in this country. You saw it with the Georgia girl. You get picked up for running a red light, well, your whole family can be deported. So you want to stay here illegally, which you've already broken a law. And to your point, Tony, about the Statue of Liberty and the types of illegals that we have coming in now versus the immigrants we had in the 1900s and stuff, where they went through the process, they showed up at the port of entry, they all that. If you're going to be here illegally now, The message from the Trump administration is you better keep your head way down, and you have the option to go home. You have the option to go home. In fact, they'll even pay for you to go home. But you got to come in this country the right way, and you do stuff like this where you're bombing Jews and harming some of the kindest people we have in this country. We're going to get you out, and we'll get your whole family out. I think this is a clear message. Tony, I sure appreciate you
thanks for the call, Tony.
Giving us a call.
And if that is a deterrent, then why don't we use it with the rest of the crimes that average Americans do? If it's a deterrent by saying, if you commit a crime, that we are going to deport your entire family, if that's the message that functions then as a deterrent.
But they have to be here illegally.
But again, no.
This is going to be different. If you have actual citizens in that group of
I'm talking about deterrence.
Then that's going to be a different conversation.
But the argument is about deterrence. That's the core of that argument. The core of that argument is about deterrence. That you.
There's facts here.
No, hang on.
The facts
Jeff,
we're not just deporting citizens.
No, but the theory behind the idea of if you do something wrong and break our laws and are here illegally, your entire family can be deported. Yeah, your entire family can be deported. Yes,
if they're illegals.
Yes, that argument is based on deterrence. Don't commit the crimes. The deterrence is you and your family will get deported. That's a deterrence argument.
Yes.
If the argument is about deterrence, if it is effective, then we also should apply it to American citizens, that your family should be held responsible for the crimes that you commit. If it works as a deterrent, then we should apply it universally. If it's not a deterrent, then don't.
No, you're missing the facts on this.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about deterrence.
The facts are the families are here illegally.
Jeff, the facts are irrelevant based on the example. You're falling into the idea that because they're illegal, then we can use this as a deterrent. Yes. I'm saying that if it's a deterrent, we should use it for other crimes as well. If it's not going to be effective at deterring other crimes, is it actually deterrent? That's the question I have.
I mean, to me, the facts matter in this case. I'm not talking about deporting random American citizens whose cousins are meth dealers. If you're here illegally, you've already broken a law. You've already committed a crime. If you're here illegally, you already broke a law. And as a result of Americans kind of being generally nice people, we kind of overlook it. Like you're like, well, it's kind of like a traffic infraction. You're illegally, we'll just overlook it. But what the Trump administration is pointing out is that you get popped for anything else. You are now sending up a big flare to ICE and all the other federal immigration officials that your entire family can be deported. Because you've already broken a law.
Yeah, and if it's a deterrent, we should cross-apply it to other crimes as well. That's the issue. If the argument is about deterrence, then if it's just the idea of punishment, just the idea we want revenge and punishment, that's one argument. But if the argument is you better not commit a crime in the U.S. because you're illegal because we'll deport your entire family, that's a deterrence argument. If it's a deterrence argument, then we should also hold the families of Americans responsible for crimes their family members commit. Don't give the Americans a pass. If it's a deterrent, use it. If you're not going to use it on the Americans, it's not a deterrent.
But they didn't commit any other crime. Here you have family. Yes, they were illegal. They're here illegally.
Not necessarily, depending on what the process is, etc. And also, they may not be eligible for expedited deportation. There are rules and regulations around that as well. There's some rules there. And so they may not be justified for that. We may be using a law that doesn't apply in this case. You have to either fraudulently declare asylum or the reason why you need asylum at a port of entry, or you need to enter the country without some sort of an inspection or declaring yourself to the government. What I know about the family so far doesn't appear they did this, especially since the father came in here on a tourist visa. That would break that chain. He would have had to declare himself and the rest of the family to the government and would have identified themselves. That doesn't allow for expedited deportation based on the current rules. That's the issue. But again, if we want to make it a deterrent,
that's why they're trying to find out if they knew about this.
We don't know if they're terrorists. That's the issue, and that's what I'm asking.
We know that father's a terrorist. We know burned Jews in
yes,
in the hospital.
Yes, and if the idea is we're going to hold the family responsible for the sins of the father, then we should do it for Americans as well. If it's an effective deterrent,
they've already broken a crime. They're here illegally.
If it's an effective deterrent,
let's get to the phone lines. Who's next, Bill?
Let's do Paul in Castle Rock.
Paul, Castle Rock. Good morning, Paul. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. I agree with Jeff in the sense that I'll bet you that whole family's here illegally. They stole into my country. The other thing is, if we ought to send that guy to that prison in El Salvador and let him cook down there. And if the family wants to follow him, they can go to El Salvador too, but not on my dime. Do it on their own. If we didn't kick them out, they would be on welfare, and they would be getting.
Wait, Paul. Hold on.
Yes,
Paul,
you know they will be.
Wait,
He's
hang on
exactly
a sec.
right.
No, hang on. Wait, Paul. You don't know that. You're ascribing this behavior to them. We know that the daughter has graduated from high school and is looking at applying to colleges for medical school. Okay?
But you think the mom with 5 kids isn't going to be getting some sort of social benefit?
I don't. Again, hang on a sec. I don't know. I'm not assuming they're poor.
Oh, she's totally going.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Paul's
I don't know
exactly
that.
right.
No, he's
Taxpayers
not.
are going to be paying for these kids to grow up.
The issue is that Paul has decided that these people are poor and taxpayers are going to foot the bill regardless of what any information says. He doesn't have any information.
No, the guy's an Uber driver.
He has no information.
You think he's driving Uber in his retirement because he made a fortune in the stock market?
I have a guy that lives 3 doors down from me that drives Uber. Has 4 cars. 2 of them are bought in the last 2 years. He drives for Uber. He's not pulling a government tax check. He's not pulling a government
There's no
tax check.
evidence that this guy's wealthy either.
Guess what? But there's no evidence he's poor, but Paul assumed it. That's where I'm drawing the line.
No, I think Paul's using common sense
No,
here.
Paul's just making
Keep this family in America, and we're all going to be paying for it. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. And, if she wants to go to medical school, that isn't cheap. And
she's applied for scholarships. She's applied for scholarships, Paul.
That those people are. Because the guy was really brave. He attacks elderly people.
Right.
He's trying to kill them, and he needs to go to prison for a while. And I would say send him to El Salvador and kick his family out. I like the Israeli system where they blow the family's house up. But they're probably renting that and getting subsistence to rent it. Place.
So if it's a good idea, should we do that to people in America that whose families are, other people in the family members commit crimes? So like if your dad's convicted of embezzlement, should the government come in and blow your house up?
Well, should take everything that my dad had accumulated from the ill-gotten gain.
Not necessarily what I asked, though. Should they blow the house up? And the idea, and the question I'm asking you, Paul, is: do you hold the children guilty for the sins of the father? I think it's a prescient question here.
When I was in law enforcement, the thing that used to frost me is these little punks would do something, hurt people, destroy their homes, and the parents got off scot-free. And I would always encourage the victim, get a lawyer and see if you can sue them.
Yeah, but you didn't arrest the parents, did you? You didn't arrest the parents, did you, Paul?
But if these kids are like shooting up schools now, yeah, we are holding parents accountable. Paul, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Paul's line is open, 303-696-1971. We got jam-packed phone lines on this today. Let me tell you first about Advanced Hair Restoration. If you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration is the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself at 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. Jam-packed phone lines. We'll get to those next. If you can't get in, text the text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, we've got jam-packed phone lines on this issue today. ICE detains the family of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street Mall attack and are moving towards an expedited removal. Should the children pay for the sins of the father? Do we know if they're here legally or illegally? People pointing out, well, if ICE is involved, they're probably not American citizens. Text messages are on both sides of this. Some are saying, open Alcatraz. Put the family on a wooden raft and push them out in the nearest ocean. Others are saying, we're being prejudiced against the family. What did they do? I don't think America needs to risk the children of terrorists in our borders, especially if you're not American citizens. We have no requirement. There's no reason we have to keep them here. You can go back to Egypt and be celebrated for their anti-Semitism.
Could we say the same thing, though, about someone that commits murder, rape, embezzlement, or any other serious crime? Any other crime of violence? Say we can't
Are they here
risk,
legally or illegally?
No, but the issue is the risk because the family. That's where it is. You're drawing the delineation based on illegality, and I understand that, and I can agree that may change part of the equation. But if the issue is that we are going to hold the family responsible for the crimes of someone else in the family, then for our most serious crimes of murder and rape and other things like that, why wouldn't it also hold true? Why can't we put American citizens in jail then?
Because there are privileges that come with being an American citizen, and if you're not, sorry, there's no requirement for us to roll the dice and deal with you and your family. Let's go to the phone lines.
Yeah,
Marcus, Denver. Good morning. They're not American citizens.
But they're still covered by the Constitution. They still get due process.
But they're not American citizens.
But they're still covered by our Constitution.
Where in the Constitution does it say you show up in this country, ergo, you get to be here no matter what?
No, it's not a matter of be here no matter what. The issue is the due process, and you're granted many of the same rights that, the citizens are. That's how the Constitution works. Yes, that's part of it.
No,
we can't just,
there's no requirement in our Constitution that you get to come to America. We get to pick and choose who comes here.
Yes, but they are allowed due process, and that's part of the issue here. Is we haven't proven they have committed any sort of crime outside of other being in the country illegally, but they're here at this point.
Bill, you could be here legally. You could be here totally legally, and America can go, we're not going to roll the dice with you and the family. Get out of here. There's no requirement that America have you here.
But yeah, after you've been naturalized to get thrown out, there are. You can't just toss people like that. I'm a naturalized citizen, and those people that came here.
Bill, that's exactly what I just said. If you're a citizen, there's privileges and benefits that come with being a citizen. But if you're just here on a visa, if you're here illegally, you're here, like they did, overstaying their visa, there's no requirement that we keep you here at all.
I still submit that there should be due process, and are we going to hold the family guilty? I mean, again, I can understand. I don't think they fall in far as expedited deportation, but I feel that what we're doing is we're stereotyping a group of individuals that say because one person in your family committed a crime, all of your people in your family are criminals. We don't take someone that has one member of the family a gang and then indict the entire family as being gang members. We don't do that, and that's where I have a problem with this idea of logic. There are all sorts of reasons that we can and can't move people in and out of the country for certain things, but this seems to me that we are using, and I will lean into what some of the text messages say, that we're leaning into some of our prejudice and allowing this to function because we're just going to claim that they're guilty because Dad did something.
Are here in this country, and we're going to miss all of our callers. We're going to have to carry this into the next hour as well. It's a privilege. If you're not an American citizen and you happen to be residing in our borders, that is a privilege. And if you come from a family of terrorists burning people in the street, guess what? That privilege revoked. Let's go to Marcus in Denver. Good morning, Marcus.
Okay.
You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, morning, Marcus.
Good morning, guys. I like the last two callers, but I got to just say one thing. Both of you guys are married. You got kids. And the kids that grow up around you, they know what you talk about, who you are, the same as the wife. So there's nothing you're going to hide from the family. But I would say I'd ask those kids, I'd ask that wife, what type of man was this?
Marcus, hang on a sec. Marcus, I disagree that you can't hide things from family. I know families that have been torn apart because of infidelity. I know families that have been torn apart based on bankruptcy, where one parent didn't tell the other about draining a bank account or taking out loans. So I disagree with you, because if everybody in the family knew, we wouldn't have any infidelity that would lead to divorce, because the spouses and the kids would know that mom or dad is stepping out. So I would disagree with that premise that everybody knows. Now, Marcus, your statement was...
that's different. They're going under Sharia law.
How?
They could say, hey,
Marcus,
Dad hates Jewish people. You could ask them. We're not talking about this other stuff.
But hating someone, but Marcus, hating someone is not illegal in this country. And you said you said the family should know. And I disagree.
They do.
No, you don't know that. You don't know if the family knew about this attack. You have no idea.
Ask the kids, ask the wife.
But again, you made an assumption, Marcus.
I bet your wife knows everything about you and those kids. I bet your kids know everything about you.
Here's the question. Marcus, hang on. Wait, hang on a second. Hang on a second here. Marcus, my kids don't know everything about me. In fact, there is a story in our family.
They do.
Marcus, no, they don't. Marcus, they don't. In fact, there's a rite of passage in our family that when a child reaches 18, I tell them a whole bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of laws that I broke. When you hit 21, I tell you the rest of the batch of laws that should have put me in jail.
Here's the real issue. The real issue is, should Jews that live in America, American citizens, have to risk living next to the family of a terrorist that shouldn't be in this country in the first place? I don't think they should have to.
Well,
I don't think it's right for them to have to risk that. But, Marcus, we got to get to a break. We'll continue. Marcus, lines will be open 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The family of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street Mall attack has been detained by ICE, and the process has begun for an expedited removal. Is this fair? Is this due process? Text messages coming in. Jeff is tone deaf on this one. Others saying, guys, Sharia law allows those to lie in order to advance jihad. You can't trust the family. Lastly, for now, if the family were here legally, they can investigate their knowledge. If they're innocent, they should not be punished. But their father was very selfish and has brought shame and punishment upon them.
Yeah, I think the texter that talks about Sharia law makes an assumption. Do we know that the family, especially the kids and stuff, are adherents to Sharia law? Could they be Sunni? Could they not believe in that? Again, the texter makes assumptions, assumes the sect of Islam the family follows, and then assumes.
Well, Sharia law
that they're
isn't
going
Sunni
to,
or Shia. That's different.
Well,
Sharia law is.
But the fundamentalist is more the Shia side rather than the Sunnis. The Sunnis are they don't necessarily view it all the same way. So it's not necessarily the same way because they're implemented differently as far as how the religion in the state should be run, and it's not necessarily the same thing. So I disagree that we're making some assumptions there based on religiosity. I disagree with that idea that they're, again...
Well, I think what you can't disagree with is that the guy tried to burn Jews alive. The father did. And
we're talking
in
about
this
deporting
case,
the family.
I am trying to defend other Jewish families that shouldn't have to deal with anybody in this circle, especially his family, moving forward. And if they're not American citizens, they have no privilege to be here. And I think it's in America's best interest to send them out. Let's go to Mary in Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'd like to start with Mark Levine. As you know, he's a constitutional scholar. Last night, he talked about the illegals and the due process. And he says that's a recent addition. So it has not been in the Constitution that we have to give illegals due process, Bill, addressing that issue.
Yeah, I disagree with that because it doesn't outline only American citizens are guaranteed habeas corpus inside the Constitution. It goes back and forth between terms of citizenship and people. I believe that Levin is coming to the incorrect conclusion on purpose because of that.
Mark Levine was?
Yeah,
You said he's coming to the wrong conclusion?
Yes, on purpose.
He has 10 books out on the Constitution.
No, Mary, hang on a sec, Mary. That doesn't mean that to make a point he negates or ignores some other situations. I don't think that he would argue that only American citizens are granted habeas corpus, especially based on how he views some of our rights being given to us by God. That's difficult at that point. Because you can't draw that line. If the rights were given to you by God, then the borders inside America
don't
matter.
afforded an attorney, for instance, during an immigration proceeding. That's never
but in
been
some
the
cases,
case.
yeah, unless you have a green card, I think you're allowed that. But yeah, but again, there should be a process, and that's the idea: is that there's due process guaranteed to people in America. It doesn't matter.
Process.
No, but it's due process.
Well, I think
so you're allowed
that's
to go into court and
it'll be
make your case.
litigated. And
Yes,
so
go ahead, Mary. We only
exactly.
got less than a minute. Go ahead.
And then I would like to say that I think as a terrorist, that should be a separate category. That is such a heinous crime that at that point, yes, we did not do that with the last terrorist that we had. Remember one from California? We left the wife stay here in the country. I think it's a good deterrent. If it is a terrorist act, then yes, you and your family, the family gets taken out. I think
Great call, Mary. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and the hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's all meeting right here today. Feisty debate taking place on the Jeff and Bill Show. The family of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street mall attack, right? The Molotov cocktails, burning Jews up there. The guy from Egypt, the guy who'd overstayed his visa, was in the country illegally. Well, his family has been rounded up by ICE for expedited removal. Trying to get him out of here quick. Should the family go? Well, obviously, he's going to stay here. He's going to deal with justice. There's going to be a trial. He's going to end up in jail, probably for the rest of his life. And he should. What about the family? Should the family be allowed to stay here? What if they're not American citizens? Obviously, if they're rounded up by ICE, likely not American citizens. Does America have the right to pick and choose who's here and going, well, these surely aren't the type of people we want around? Or are we making the kids pay for the sins of the father? Let's go to the phone lines. Brian Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. First, my wife works with a coworker that's Jewish, and she was visibly shaken up that day after the attack, and to the point where she was just in tears, needing support from everybody. So I think we're getting distracted away from that point, because I care more about this family that was affected, all these families that were affected for the rest of their lives, than I do this guy's wife and kids. And why we're making such a big deal out of that over the crime is kind of, in my opinion, disgusting. Where are our Democrat leaders on this? If this was a Christian white man firebombing a BLM riot, or their peaceful protest, they want to call them, you would have everybody and their brother out there saying that this guy needs to be deported or taken out or whatever. But where's Polis? Where's Bennett? Where's Hickenlooper? Where's Weiser? Where's anybody that wants to be governor in this next term? Where are they? Silent. And Comrade Kyle Clark, he's silent too. So the hypocrisy is so thick, and these families are suffering, and we care if these kids get deported or not. I think we're missing the mark, guys.
Well, Brian, the issue I've got, though, is that I understand your critique, and Danielle Jurinsky did an admirable job, despite the fact that Kyle Clark and Channel 9 didn't give us attribution when they used it on their program. No, I didn't mention it, but, Danielle accurately, earlier in the week, took aim at the Colorado Democrat leaders, and specifically the Jewish ones, as far as how they approached this attack. And especially the idea of we are monitoring the situation, those phrases that came out early, that she was like, we had enough information to understand what this was and see what this was, and to condemn the attack. And you're absolutely right about that. The issue, though, is what I'm looking at is the fact that we are trying to hold the rest of the family responsible for the sins of the father. And that bothers me. I mean, just ethically and morally, the idea that we are going to determine that because one person acts a fool, and does a horrendous crime, that then the rest of the family is somehow tainted, guilty, or evil. I mean, help me get there, man.
Well, I think it comes to a few callers ago said that when it comes to terrorism, I think it's a whole game changer. I'm not going to compare terrorism to a blue collar or white collar crime. I'm not going to compare terrorism.
Can we compare it to murder?
To anything else?
Can we compare it to murder?
I don't even know if I could get there. It's an ideology. It's a threat on our way of life. These other acts could be any other reason. This was an unabashed anti-Semite who hates America and hates Jews, and he's in our country on an expired visa.
I wouldn't necessarily
that has nothing to do with a white-collar crime.
But I'm
those
not
are
talking,
different
hang on.
acts of
but Brian,
terrorism.
You just went back to white
we
collar.
Gotta look at the family.
Brian, hang on. You just went back to white collar crime. I brought murder to the table. And I'm sorry, I believe that murder goes against the fundamental principles of America. And that does impact our way of life. Yes, it does. So do we...
But it's targeted for different reasons,
but
Billy.
Hang on. But you don't know that. I mean, I could go out there and murder people because hang on a sec, not necessarily for terrorist reasons, but I could go out there and murder people for a lot of different reasons. But the idea is you're just classifying it based on terrorism. And if it's terrorism, if we say it's terrorism, then you're saying we can hold the entire family responsible. So the idea being then is should we start hunting down Timothy McVeigh's extended family and putting them in prison?
Where you're mixing it up, though, is holding the family responsible and maintaining the privilege of staying in this country. There's no right to come to America. It's a privilege to be in this country. We get to pick and choose. I can pick people based upon their intelligence, and America does that. We go, you know what? You're really smart from India. We're going to bring you. You're a poor peasant from Korea. We're not going to bring you. We pick and choose. And so the question is not, are they paying for all the sins and are they going to go to jail? The question is, in a civilized, smart society, looking at what just happened with this guy and his family, should America extend its privilege to remain in this country to its family and roll the dice and just hope they don't become terrorists too? Or, you know what, we got some other people I'd rather bring in here. Let's go bring a family from Mozambique, for instance, where the dad is an engineer. It's probably better for our country than keeping these people in here. You're out.
Couldn't they become terrorists too? Couldn't they?
Well, I mean, then anybody could, right?
But then doesn't that erode your justification for throwing the family out? And again, yes, America can pick or choose, but what I'm asking about is the ethics and morals behind the idea of holding the entire family responsible for the sins of one person. That is irrelevant of immigration status. But with your example,
it's totally irrelevant based on immigration status.
Yeah, your mechanism of wanting to deport them does matter in this example. But my question is about the ethics and morals of holding the rest of the family responsible for the crimes of a certain individual. Now, you can say that if they're in the country illegally, then I am going to ethically and morally decide that everybody's guilty. I'm going to paint everybody in the family with the same brush. Fine, but be honest about it. And be honest that it doesn't necessarily function as a deterrence. This is just about revenge and makes us feel better. Fine. If we want to be that stereotypical with it, okay. But I question the ethics and morals behind that. I don't think it's right, regardless of situation, to hold people, other members of the family, responsible for the sins of one person. I disagree.
Do you think it's fair for a Jewish family to have to live next to this family?
I'm not sure what that question. I'm not sure. I know where you're trying to
get.
Because
that's the actual thing we're dealing with here.
Hang on a sec here. I know where you're trying to go with this, but I disagree with the premise because it seems like you are assuming the rest of the family are a bunch of terrorists, stuff that we don't have any information about. The idea being that if someone murders someone, do you want to live next to that family whose father, mother, or someone else in the family went out and murdered people?
If the murder was based in hatred towards a particular group of people, like it was in this case, they should question that. Well, and we as citizens of this country are having this debate right now. And the importance being on my point, and I'll give you, Brian, another minute here, so stick around. Is it right for us to keep these people here when they have no legal right to claim to be here, when they could be, these kids aren't posting comments, but we're doing a big gamble here, and I feel like it's imperative on us to stand for our Jewish friends to go, we're not gonna risk it. We're just not going to risk it.
I understand it, Brian. I'll let you go, but just remember that Harrison Klebold has targeted specific groups and individuals as well. They had targeted groups.
Bill, they're not American. Their parents are American citizens. Again, there's a different privilege here. Go ahead, Brian.
But your issue was about the targeting.
And I think we're not holding these people accountable for what he did. We're not putting them on trial and putting them in jail. We're just saying his family might have lost the right to live in America because of the sins of the father. And I'll go ahead and say it. They might have lost the right to be in America. We're not holding him accountable for the
But
heinous
it's not a
murders
right,
or
Brian.
attempted
Again, it's a
murders.
privilege. You got to get the word's got to be important. The privilege
Yes.
to live in America
Privilege
has
isn't-
been lost because yes, your dad firebombed a bunch of Jews.
Can't we
And
say that?
privileges and rights are different things. Thanks, Jeff.
Couldn't we, Brian? Couldn't we also say, though, that if your family member committed murder, you lose the privileges and rights to be part of the American society and just put the rest of you in jail?
If you're here illegally, 100%.
I'm just
I
saying
mean,
in
we're
general.
doing that. We're doing that
I'm
with
just saying in
people that
general.
run a red light, and I love it.
I'm just saying in general.
No, but you're going to pay. You might have to. There might be some repercussions of your family members committing crimes like that, and you might lose privileges.
And there were American citizens that still had to live next to the families whose last names were Harris and Klebold post Columbine. Yes. It's the same question. We're back to where Jeff started with a question about having a Jewish family live next to the family of this character.
Your facts aren't saved. The comparisons are not the same.
Citizens.
Yes, it is.
These aren't legal citizens.
They're totally different.
No, my comparison is solid based on the ethics and the morals. You're trying to delineate based on immigration status, and I disagree with that because I'm talking about the ethics and morals.
Because the facts are different.
I'm talking about the ethics and morals involved. The facts are irrelevant when we're talking about this at this level. When the facts and morals are involved, it doesn't matter. Those underlying details of immigration status are ineffectual and don't matter based on whether or not we're going to deal with the issues of the ethics and the morals responsible inside of the idea of hanging on to holding the family members responsible, as Brian said, the sins of the father. And I appreciate Brian saying, yes, I'm okay with that. Brian, I appreciate this has been one of the best calls of the entire morning because you said, yes, I'm okay with holding the family members of the person that commits a crime responsible. I will hold them guilty for the sins of the father if they're illegal immigrants. Okay, that's intellectually consistent. Okay, fine. I disagree with Brian.
We haven't said that the whole time. But did we lose Brian? I was going to give Brian the final word.
Sorry.
All right, Brian. Brian's line will be open. Thank you, Brian. Great call. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. We'll continue the conversation. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good morning. Hump Day, 53 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 70 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, DJT posting on Truth Social about 45 minutes ago saying ADP numbers are out. 37,000 jobs added, by the way. Too late, pal. That's what DJT calls Jerome Powell. He must now lower the rate. He is unbelievable. Europe has lowered 9 times. All the people injured in the Boulder terrorist attack are expected to survive, thank God. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern updated the condition of the victims Tuesday, and 3 people are still being treated for serious burns at UC Health University of Colorado Hospital.
Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it.
Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security, terrorist Mohammed Solomon, here illegally from Egypt, who thought it'd be a good idea to drive to Boulder and try to murder innocent people on Pearl Street, has a wife and 5 kids living in the Springs, and ICE and DHS. They have the family in custody and moving to deport them. What does one of our great callers, Tony, think about deporting them?
The whole family has to go. Plus, under that Biden administration, so many people came here who don't have American values. Back in the day when people came to the Statue of Liberty, they came for the American dream. They came for the American dream, not their dream. They left their dream back from where they come from. When you come for the American dream, you got to learn American ways. These new people come for the game. They come to use us. They come to take. How are you going to come to our country and criticize somebody and throw bombs at our Jewish brothers and sisters? The same thing happened to the couple in Washington, D.C. No, you don't come here for that. You come to enjoy the positive American values. You don't come here to kill and to march.
All I do is win, win, win. No matter what, got money on my mind. I can never get enough.
Greatest call ever, Tony. Thank you for making my day. Elon hates the big, beautiful bill and shames lawmakers who voted for it. CNN's Scott Jennings' best perspective after talking with Elon recently.
Those will have to be reconciled. The reconciliation will have to be reconciled with the House, and more changes still may come. I guess I want multiple things. I want the president to get his agenda. And the agenda, the core part of this, and the thing that is not negotiable, is the extension and making permanent the tax cuts, investment in border security, energy deregulation, the biggest welfare reform in recent history. I mean, these are non-negotiable, I think, to the president because it's what he ran on. But the Republicans should listen here to Elon when it comes to the national debt. We have work to do on this. We have governing responsibility. And maybe it doesn't come in this bill, but the rescissions package is to come and our other work to come here. Getting a handle on a $36 trillion debt is not going to be easy, but it is necessary because this is not sustainable.
A manhunt is underway for a father suspected of killing his 3 young daughters in Washington State. The girls, ages 5, 8, and 9, were found Monday afternoon near a campground east of Seattle. Police say Travis Decker is wanted for their murders. He picked up the girls on Friday for a scheduled visit, but never returned them to their mother. My
Unbelievable.
Lord.
This reminds me of those poor girls that died up in northern Colorado.
Absolutely.
When the dad dumped their bodies in the oil.
Right, in Firestone, I think.
Firestone, yeah. Jeez. I mean, these little girls, and then their dads.
Man, that's some serious mental illness, man. How as a parent?
Burn them alive.
God. Unbelievable.
Those guys.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Edmonton and Florida. The Rockies go for 3 straight today. Getaway day this morning in Miami at 10:10. This morning, 10:10 a.m. 52 in Englewood, 51 in Brighton, 53 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Friday, it's going to be cool and unsettled here along the Front Range with more rain chances. Low to mid-70s today, partly to mostly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunderstorms lingering into tonight. Lows upper 40s to near 50. Highs only 60s and lower 70s, mostly cloudy with more showers and thunderstorms likely Thursday through Friday. Warmer for the weekend with lower thunderstorm chances. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, we are talking about the ICE detaining family members of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street Mall attack for expedited removal. You have this terrorist that takes Molotov cocktails, drives from Colorado Springs to Boulder, throws them at Jewish and Israel supporters, tries to burn them alive, gets arrested. Now ICE taking the wife and the 5 kids into custody, getting them out of here. Now, this guy, if you remember, is an illegal immigrant. He was not supposed to be here, overstayed his visa twice, and then commits this heinous crime. Should the family go? I think it's a privilege to live in America. An incredible privilege. And when you are an American citizen, you get lots of rights that come with being an American citizen. But we get to pick and choose who comes across our border. There's no international right that you just get to come here. And when your family demonstrates that they're this crazy, this anti-Semitic, when you threaten Jewish neighbors the way this family did, you got to go. I'm sorry, the whole family needs to go. If not, you get the whole complaints, well, the family's not together. Oh my gosh, we're deporting without the family, all that. No, whole family goes. There's lots of other families I'd like to have in this country rather than this one. Am I making the kids pay for the sins of the father? Lots of text messages on this. Dwayne, Divide, great to hear from you. Good morning, Dwayne. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen, and a big nod of the hat to Blake Olson for his Chicken Little reference there on the We Are the Champion. Very nicely done, Blake.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
What we have to look at here, Jeff and Bill, is we take out Jewish. The fact that he was doing a crime of Molotov cocktails and everything else is a horrific item. Now he's gone to hate crime status by going with attacking a Jewish situation. Now that he's been expired, he had one of those N1V visas or whatever it was. He outstayed that. He was given privileges from the Biden administration to stay and work with that. And if the family is here post-visa, they have to go. That's simple. You go overseas, when I'm going to be going here in about 2 weeks, I have a 21-day visa. And if I stay 1 day later, they're going to sit there and take me, throw me on a plane before I have a chance to think.
You know, Dwayne, you do make a good point, and I do feel that part of the problem with our immigration system is we do not keep closer tabs on those in the country based on immigration visas. I know that had a friend that had an experience in Australia and had Australian immigration and customs authorities show up the day before they were supposed to leave at their hotel room and said, knock, knock, knock. We're just reminding you. Hope you've enjoyed your stay. Anything else we can do for you? Oh, yeah, just a friendly reminder. You're supposed to leave tomorrow. And so, yeah, I can see that. And I agree with you that we should keep tighter tabs on the visa expirations. Now, regardless, we don't know the status of the family, if they, what their status was. We can assume they're illegal. And yes, you can kick someone out for any reason at all, and as long as you have violated our immigration laws. But do you think that we should? I'm talking the ethics and morals behind it. Do we hold the family responsible for the sins of the father? What do you think about that?
Well, and Bill, and I said to you here on the pre-call,
yeah,
the fact that these kids may be just living the American dream and we may be throwing away 5 diamonds, I do not know, but they should be allowed a chance to come back and say, even though my father did something wrong, here's what I did while in this country. That's going to be something that will have to be fought out through other means. But if they have overstayed, as you said, Australia, every week I was getting a call going, so you're leaving on the 19th, right? I said, hey, Sunday night, we're ready. I'm on an airplane Monday morning, and we have to keep telling them that.
Yeah, they do a good job. I wish we would approach it more like Australia, honestly, just personally. If I got the magic, Jeff and Bill won and got to wave the magic wand, I would love to have us approach it that way because we seem very unconcerned about people that are overstaying visas. And as we saw during the Biden administration, that was one of the largest cohorts of individuals that comprised illegal immigration in this country, were people that just were allowed in the country at first and then just decided to overstay their visa.
Well, we're a very compassionate nation.
Yeah.
We will sit there and help anybody, and we will work our butts off to sit there and make sure that people can experience the best of everything possible. There was a little carnival in town, and nobody at the ride spoke English. Everybody had translators on their smartphones, so you could sit there and ask them questions. I don't care what they were doing. They were making an effort. But if you sit there and overstay your visa, then the family has to sit there and say, it's time to go. What the man did, that's going to be separate charges. We have hate crime, federal crimes, and everything else. But if you've overstayed your visa and you're here on a lack of ability and you don't have a green card or one pending to sit there and come with, you've got to go.
And Dwayne, you're right about the facts on that. And I think Bill brings up a good question. Okay, let's say that they haven't overstayed their visa. Let's say that they're here still as guests in the United States of America, which is what they are.
Yeah, maybe the kids have student visas or something else. Yeah.
Simply because of what the father did, should they go? I say absolutely.
Well, that's, I ride with Bill on some of this, and I ride with you, Jeff. If the children are doing well and they're showing benefits and everything else to improve and become quote unquote Americanized, then we have to sit there and say, okay, what do we have here? Even if they've overstayed the visa, they can sit there and come back and apply. I have a dear friend, first-generation American. Her children are American citizens, and she's busting her hump. She has 3 streams of income. She's working herself. The daughter is going to become a licensed an LPN nurse, and she has one daughter that has Down syndrome, so she'll be receiving care and benefits for that, and all her other children. Her sisters, everybody else, her sister's son is in the Air Force, and he's already coming into OCS because he's doing such a great job, and he's Muslim, and they don't seem to have a problem with that in the Air Force. He gets to eat a halal diet, but he's sitting there, doing everything that a citizen should do, and he's doing a great thing, and he's doing a great job for the military, i.e. for the United States. To paint the bigger broad brush of everything seems simplistic, but we need to sit there and also say, you're here, your visa's extended.
Yep.
No, it isn't. Your visa's dead. You've got to go reapply.
And what I find fascinating in this, and you picked up on it too, Dwayne and Bill, is that when we travel, and I've got a daughter traveling internationally right now as a missionary, we go to those other countries and we see ourselves as guests of those other countries. And where my daughter's traveling, for instance, they have very different social expectations than we do here in America, particularly with regards to how she dresses. So guess what she did? She went out and she bought dresses with long skirts, all that stuff, so that she could assimilate appropriately as a guest of that country. There's no expectation of a right showing up and that she can somehow act a fool or act any way that she wants and she gets to just be there. So I feel like when Americans go out, we travel, we see ourselves as guests. This idea that this family that's here on a travel visa somehow gets all the rights and privileges of being here and maintaining the right to be here. No, they're guests, and clearly they've demonstrated they don't respect our laws. Get them all out.
I would push back on the idea that as Americans we universally travel and view ourselves as guests, because we have gotten the reputation as ugly American tourists for a reason. We didn't do that by showing up and behaving like we are the guest in the family. We did that by showing up. Did we expect,
though, that the other countries would pay for our schools and all that, and provide scholarships?
Not my point. You said that we go in and when we're traveling, that we always behave as if we are this welcomed guest in the country, and that is not universally what happens with Americans. When we travel...
I think there's a difference between being rude.
But hang on. I know, but the issue is that your example was that we go in there and we honor their cultures and their customs and everything else. We have developed an international reputation for rude American tourists. Some of us behave some way, some of us behave the other. That's all I'm going to point out in that one, is that universally the example is not that we always go to the other country and behave as welcome guests. We don't always do that.
Dwayne, last word.
Well, gentlemen, I've been traveling to many areas this year because of my new employment, and when I'm overseas this time, I'm gonna be in uniform, and I make sure that I know who everybody is. I make sure that they smile. I respect everyone quietly, and I want to make darn sure that if they have any questions with me whatsoever, that they go, "Oh yeah, you're the nice guy." And a lot of people are like that. I wish the best for your daughter during the situation, Jeff, and Bill. I agree with you on so many things. I hope your boys are doing well. Ours is doing fine. Okay. And we're just wanting to make sure that we just have balance in our lives. I don't want to see these news stories, not because I want to hide in a hole, but I want to just say we need to come back to a more cohesive unit as a society and as a culture, and we need to sit there and say, oh, he's bad, we need to stop him. Why nobody didn't tackle this guy when he was spraying everything? Had I been there, arthritic, old and brittle, well, I would have loved to have seen him shot. But in any other situation, I'd have tackled him and just sat there and said, okay, we're done with this, as opposed to letting one person get hurt. Okay. But that's me. I'm old and brittle and stupid.
Dwayne, always good to hear from you. Thank you so much for the call.
I'm so glad your son's doing well. Thanks, man. It's great to hear from you.
Dwayne's line will be open. Dwayne from Divide, 303-696-1971 is the line if you want to jump in here. What are we doing on time? Let me get a read in here, and then we'll continue with the phone calls. All right, let's talk Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. In fact, Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We're talking the deportation, pending deportation of the family involved, the family members of the man who engaged in the Boulder Pearl Street Mall attack, the guy with the Molotov cocktails, here illegally. His wife and 5 children now picked up by ICE and an expedited removal coming. Do they deserve to go? If they've overstayed their visa, that's pretty simple. They've just violated that. You need to go. But bigger question, even if they didn't, should they stay in this country? Text messages coming in 1839. Those children are now prime candidates to be radicalized. Now that their father will never see the day of light again, they have to go and never be allowed back. Let's go to Bo in Lakewood. Good morning, Bo. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Yes, good morning to you and your listeners. I have an example about punishing the family for this crime.
Interesting, okay.
In the 90s, I went to China. Been to China 3 times, and I just want to give an example. When I was in the cities of Nanjing, Guangzhou, and Beijing, I was in the city and I asked the tour guide about graffiti. I said, "Why don't your cities have graffiti?" And she didn't understand what graffiti was. So I sat down and I drew her a picture of a stick figure with a spray can painting the side of a building. And then she understood. She says, "Yes, we don't have that like in your country. If someone gets caught defacing a building, the mother and father get arrested, and so does the other family members, aunt and uncles. They don't get arrested. They go to prison. And henceforth, they have no graffiti in that country because of the deterrence of punishing the whole family for the crime. So I just think it is. I just think it's a deterrent. I just want to give an example of what other countries do.
Now, that's an interesting one, Bo, and that's kind of where I was going, and I really appreciate the phone call, and I wanted to kind of get your idea about this. Do you think that it is a deterrent then for someone that is in the country, either on a visa or in the country illegally, to not commit crimes because we then will round up your entire family and put them in prison or deport them? Do you believe that is a deterrent?
Absolutely. Look at China.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
should we then cross apply that, since it is an effective deterrent based on what you say? Should we cross apply that to crimes committed by Americans? I brought the example up in the last hour. Someone that commits rape, murder, embezzlement of millions of dollars, domestic violence, things like that. Should we also hold their family members responsible? Is that an effective deterrent?
That I can't answer. I'd have to ponder that because they are American citizens. But it's something that, I don't know, I think that'd be crossing the constitutional lines for that. But if you're here on a visa or here illegal, I mean, they definitely should commit these crimes, is to deport them. I mean, it just sends a ripple effect to other people wanting to do
Yeah.
crazy things like this.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is, I'm of two minds on this. I can understand why, and I really appreciate the phone call, Bo. I understand why that we would want to deport them emotionally, but where it hurts me ethically and morally is if it is a deterrent, as you said, Bo, then it should be a deterrence universally. That if we think it's an effective deterrent for people that are in the country, either on a visa or illegally, to not commit crimes, then obviously we should then have that same deterrence for the American people that are also committing crimes. American citizens commit crimes at a level far superior than those that are in the country illegally or here on a visa. So if we're talking about this being a deterrent that will stop crime, and if it's effective, then we obviously should include it to American citizens and start throwing their family members in jail.
Well, text messages pointing out oftentimes lawmakers do that. Somebody commits a crime and then they make the general public pay for it, especially with regards to Second Amendment rights. All right, we'll continue. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Campos Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. Brandon, hang with us. You're next up. We are 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. ICE detains the family member charged in the Boulder Pearl Street mall attack for expedited removal. We're not seeing a lot of details with regards to their current legal status, but the point being in America as a guest is a privilege. And you got family members engaged in terrorist activities? Well, you gone, and I think it's fine. And I don't see it as a problem. Others saying, why are we punishing the family for the sins of the father? Is that real justice? Let's go to the phone lines. Brandon, Denver. Good morning, Brandon. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Jeff and Bill. This is absolutely great. This is an important subject. I like what y'all are talking about here. It is a no-brainer in a sense. The family's got to go, but let's back it up here. Bill is an exception and an exceptional thinker. And that's part of the reason why this is great radio, because Bill is throwing some things out there saying, hey, well, hold on now. You know, we got all kind of families that are neighbors and all kind of things going on domestically and all that. In this case, it really is a no-brainer. Most people would say, well, yeah, the family's got to go. You know, they got to go. I mean, even a 5-year-old kid would say, yeah, the family's got to go. They've got to pay the price. Now, but I like Bill. What he's bringing, because he's bringing up things that kind of ruffle the feathers of people who are just like really concrete and just kind of walk the line. And Jeff kind of represents that. Man, this is a no-brainer. Why are we? This is not even a debate. And I understand where Jeff is coming from, and it's great. But I like Bill because we got to ask these questions. Now the problem is, as I see it, is Bill is going from the personal, level, which most people are answering the question on. Well, yeah, that family's got to go. That's a no-brainer. But when you kick it up to the social, moral, ethical, which is a higher level of thinking and logic and cross-apply, which Bill is great at doing that, that's when it starts to get a little, people start to say, well, okay, I see, and they get on their heels, and Bill's great. But again, if we're talking at the lowest level, personal, level, it's a no-brainer. But when we kick it up to the higher levels, I mean, Bill's got something to say, and I respect it, Bill. I respect what you're saying.
Dude, I got to tell you, Brandon, I appreciate this so much, man. And I got to tell you how hard this is, because as you outlined, emotionally, yes, I see that family and go, yeah, because of what Dad did emotionally, I do want to say, no, you forfeited your privilege. And Jeff is 110% right. And this is why I love doing the show with him. He's right that it is a privilege to be in this country based on immigration status, visa, whatever it is, asylum claim. But do we then hold everybody responsible for their sins? Now, Brandon, I am going to give you the magic Jeff and Bill wand. Would you wave that wand and say, you got a couple of choices here. One, that this is such an effective deterrent that everybody's family should be held responsible for crimes that they did, that someone else in the family did. Only the violent ones. We'll just do that, or big white-collar crimes. Those families, even American citizens, could be held responsible. Or we only will hold the families of illegal immigrants or those here on visas responsible. Or the third option is we will judge everybody individually. What do you do with your magic wand?
That's amazing. And I take that magic wand, and in the spirit of magic, I would say the families are already, Bill, the families are already going to pay the price. The families are going to pay the price, because think about the shooters. Yeah. These families, the neighbors, they already are in pain. Now, again, we're talking legal pain and something definitive in front of a judge and all that. I get it. But I'll tell you, on another level, these families are already paying the price of what their family member did. It's horrible, terrible. They'll never forget it. They'll have nightmares and visit their dad in jail and all this. So I would say, again, if we want to remove them. We have to have something judicious and governmental. I understand that, but on a spiritual, psychological, heart level, these families are they're hurt. They're hurt, man.
Brandon, you are right, man. Because guess what? We don't have a lot of people running around the earth right now with the last name of Hitler. That name, kind of went away, and nobody's naming their kid Adolf either. You're right, man. That I think that they will be held responsible and they will pay for it. Brandon, that is fantastic.
Great
Thank you so
call.
much for the wonderful
Brandon,
compliments. Thank you, man.
Denver,
have a great day.
Line open 303-696-1971. All right, we know Memorial Day has passed, but today's the last day. You guys got to get on it to get a Mountain High appliance discount on your KitchenAid appliance packages, okay? You can save up to $4,300 during the Memorial Day event on KitchenAid appliance packages at Mountain High Appliance. They're proud to offer KitchenAid, an iconic brand trusted for over 100 years, but don't wait. Today's the day. You got to get after it. When you think appliances, think locally owned, Mountain High Appliances. All right, we'll continue with phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader. I've got Francis and Barney coming up. Don't miss this. We are News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking here ICE detaining the family of the man charged in the Boulder Pearl Street mall attack for expedited removal. Let's go back to the phone lines. Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, I think we have a problem with a little bit of amnesia. There was a similar incident that actually produced 10 deaths in King Soopers in Boulder from an individual just a couple of years ago of the similar ethnic background, I think, but certainly same religious background. And there was a hue and cry among what I would call a subsection of jugheads who wanted that family, who was here, legally investigated and, if necessary, removed. And I want everybody to step back a little bit and ask themselves, are people taking a position that the sins of the father should be visited on the family here because of ethnic and religious background? Because if you're doing that, is there even a tinge of that? Because I think you scratch the surface of some of this, and that's what you're getting. Then you're engaging in, first of all, a deductive fallacy, logically, but it's a very dangerous path. And I really want people to think about that. Because, look, we are, no matter what others want to believe, a very hodgepodge society. And, you know, I just don't want people to start thinking that any Muslim is a terrorist. And that's really close to where we're getting, and therefore should be immediately deported or kicked out or whatever. We don't know what the family's involvement is. Does it merit investigation? Of course it does. And they're probably here illegally. So, you know, that gives you a basis alone to deport.
Yeah,
but
Francis,
let's think about what we're doing.
Appreciate
it's a great
call.
example about the Boulder one. I forgot
Francis
about that.
from
Thanks,
Golden.
Man. It's a good reminder.
His line will be open. Let's go to Barney. Good morning, Barney. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Barney, how are you?
Hey, okay, so you guys, I'm going to ask for some real rant time this morning. I think it's important. By the way, Francis, amen to you, brother. I love these people. Well, first off, let me start off with, when Rob O'Neill shot Osama bin Laden in the face 3 times and dropped him, his 2-year-old kid was here. Rob O'Neill did not kill his 2-year-old kid, because the first thing that came to his mind was, this kid is not a part of this. It's not fair. So here you have about the coldest-hearted, best warrior on the planet takes out the bad guy and leaves the kid. So let's put this in perspective for starters. You want to talk to me about what I think of America and what we've done over the last 20 years? Yeah, I voted for George W. twice. What a turd. These turds have led us down a path. So if you had me on the corner and I was a Muslim and I was American, whatever, what I'm trying to say is, first off, the daughter has 2 scholarships, the way I hear, CU and CSU. I find it hard to believe that is a bad kid. I just really find it hard to believe. And if you want to hang out the family, okay, why don't we go kill Dylan and Klebold's parents? This is just asinine. We know what FDR did. Hey, good one, FDR, locking up Japanese Americans in internment camps. You do the crime, you pay. First off, this puke tried to buy a gun. He should have been in jail after that. You go into a gun store, you fill out the app on a computer or the paper. They have plenty of time to call the cops. He was not a citizen. That's a felony. They should have locked him up then. So screw all these people that talk, we're going to toss the family out. Like, we really don't have to. We know that this guy was a puke. You throw gasoline on 50-year-old plus women and men, you're a puke. You're the scum of the earth.
Barney, the question.
Have you ever been on fire with gasoline? Hang on a minute. You get on fire with gasoline, a grown man, it will make you cry like a baby. It hurts. Very bad. And by the way, I know it was Dwayne that said this. That cop was not in a hurry to take this guy down. You know what? When there's a bad guy and it's really bad, you throw yourself at them. You take that puke out at your own demise. But no, this is wrong.
But Barney, it's an anti-Semitic terrorist, right? And we're just going to roll the dice and hope that Jewish families aren't attacked by this guy's kids. I mean, they grew up with this guy in the house. Or we're just going to hope. I just hope that Jewish families are going to be okay in the state, knowing these people are here.
What about, okay, Jeff? If we're going to go with that, Let's start tossing Democrat protesters out at these universities then. I mean, God almighty, you're gonna look at it. I'm just saying, man, you got to judge these kids on who they are. There's no way that you can say for sure that they're going to be radicalized, and maybe they will. I mean, I've been radicalized because of being lied to for the last 50 years by our government.
And Barney, let Egypt deal with them. Send them out to Egypt. Let Egypt deal with them. There's no reason why we have to risk it.
Right, Jeff, 2 scholarships to 2 different colleges, universities. You think she's a bad kid? I'll bet she's not.
Barney, you bring up a good point, but think about how anti-Semitic these universities are. And now we're going to send them to these universities.
They are. What is with these Democrats and hating the Jews? What is wrong with these people? I have no idea. I don't get it. You know what? They sit there and they say they hate Benjamin Netanyahu. I do too. But so do half of the people that live in Israel. I don't know.
Barney,
you just cannot wait. Listen, wait a minute. Wait.
We're up against the break. I'm sorry. It was always fun to talk with you. We've got
Barney,
Mitch Morrissey coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Mitch Morrissey joins us. He's the Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow with the Common Sense Institute, formerly with the Denver's DA's office. 33 years with them total. 12 years as a district attorney covering the 2nd District, which includes Denver. He's going to join us on a new report about the DNA kit backlog that the state of Colorado is dealing with and the impact of that. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. Really, really important when it comes to getting justice in our communities. But now it's time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good hump day morning, 55 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 70 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
First off, this puke tried to buy a gun. He should have been in jail after that. You go into a gun store, you fill out the app on a computer or the paper. They have plenty of time to call the cops. He was not a citizen. That's a felony. They should have locked him up then. So screw all these people that talk, oh, we're going to toss the family out. Like, we really don't have to. We know that this guy was a puke.
Barney speaks for a lot of Coloradans like me. The wife and children of Boulder terrorist Mohammed Solomon in ICE custody. Solomon's wife and 5 children in custody with ICE for expedited removal. The Department of Homeland Security is currently looking into more.
Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it.
DJT's big, beautiful bill is being criticized by Elon. Republican Senators Rand Paul and Mike Lee backed Elon's criticism, while House Speaker Mike Johnson called his comments very disappointing and terribly wrong. Once again, Scott Jennings crystallizes it.
A few weeks ago, and he told me he's here to try to make America not go bankrupt. I mean, this is on his mind. We have a $36 trillion debt, and it should be on all of our minds. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that we're done with the bill yet. I mean, as you know, and as the reporting says, lots of changes are going to have to be made in the Senate to get it out of the Senate, and then those will have to be reconciled. The reconciliation will have to be reconciled with the House, and more changes still may come. I guess I want multiple things. I want the president to get his agenda. And the agenda, the core part of this, and the thing that is not negotiable, is the extension and making permanent the tax cuts.
New tariffs on imported steel and aluminum are now in effect. The White House says the increase in response to trade practices that undermine national security. President Trump announced the new tariffs last week during that rally in Pittsburgh at the steel mill, saying they will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Eric Swalwell, the lion lefty, corrupt commie, he's out crying again on podcasts.
My wife tells me all the time, you know what? The second they're not going after you, you're not affected.
Oh.
And so I wear it as a badge of honor that these guys would want to lie about me all the time, because I think it means that I'm landing punches politically on them that
no,
sting.
You're not.
And frankly, I think a lot of Republicans look at me as like, oh, that's a straight, white, Christian male, son of a cop. Like, everyone else like him looks like me. So when he comes at me, it's more betrayal to them. Like, I've heard that from them on their side, that's why they take it so personally. So I'm not going away.
No one's ever told you that. You're such a liar. Corrupt, anti-American cheat. That's who you are. That's the only reason we don't like you. Quit crying, little baby. Now here's a true American, one of our callers, the great Tony.
If you want to find out how many people are in this country. Go to Walmart around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like a third world country. Colorado had its own identity once upon a time. Everything changed after the legalization of weed and COVID. When the legalization of weed and COVID came, everything changed.
Yes, sir. Nailed it again, Tony. The Indiana Pacers are finally in OKC for the NBA Finals after facing travel issues. The team's flight to Oklahoma City was redirected to Tulsa to refuel due to severe weather. And the NBA Finals are set to tip off tomorrow night. The Thunder and the Pacers. Game 1 Stanley Cup Finals tonight. Oilers and the Panthers, Florida and Edmonton. And the Rockies have won 2 straight getaway day this morning in South Florida at 10:10. 52 in Parker, 53 in Broomfield, and 55 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Don't come here tripping. No, you come here and enjoy the American values. You don't come with your own personal evil intent. The sad part about Colorado, the Trojan horse is already in. You got to get these people out of here because Colorado is a whole nother place now. We're going through a cultural renovation.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Through Friday, it's going to be cool and unsettled here along the Front Range with more rain chances. Low to mid-70s today, partly to mostly cloudy with afternoon showers and thunderstorms lingering into tonight. Lows upper 40s to near 50. Highs only 60s and lower 70s, mostly cloudy with more showers and thunderstorms likely Thursday through Friday. Warmer for the weekend with lower thunderstorm chances. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Very honored to have joining the Jeff and Bill show today, Mitch Morrissey, a storied career as district attorney for the city of Denver. He's now over with our great friends at the Common Sense Institute. New report out today, just hours ago. Joining us now, the benefits of eliminating Colorado's sexual assault kit backlog. Mitch, thanks for being in studio with us today.
Jeff, it's nice to be here, and it's certainly nice to meet you. I don't think we'd met before.
No, never have.
Bill and I have talked on the phone before,
Yes.
but I don't think I ever got a chance to meet him in person
Never
either.
in person, sir. Never in person.
I was glad to come in and meet you, gentlemen.
Well, and George Brockler speaks so highly of you. You guys were colleagues together on a number of reports at the Common Sense Institute, and now you've got one out about this backlog. We've heard stories about it in news coverage that there's a pretty significant DNA backlog with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Help us understand what the backlog is, what it's attributed to, and why it's creating problems here in Colorado.
Well, if anybody wants to see what the actual backlog is, there's a dashboard now that's been stood up by CBI. I ran it this morning before I came down. The backlog is 1,324 cases. Those are rape cases, but those are cases that need to be done, and the backlog in number of days is well over a year. I just can't imagine what it would be like for the victim of a sexual assault to wait 18 months for an answer of who broke into her home and sexually assaulted her. I think that it's important that you realize that when it comes to DNA, 90% of the crimes, these violent crimes that are committed, are against women. And the 10% that are left are kids, about 9.5. So this is a science that helps us catch men that are raping, killing women and children in our community. So it's really important that DNA be run properly, that it be done well, that there's proper quality control when it comes into this. This all started back in 2013 when the legislature decided that they would pass what they called Test All Rape Kit bill. And there was some problems with that. Not all rape kits are probative. We in our report mentioned the benefits of testing them, even though they might not lead to conviction, that kind of thing. But there are certain, unfortunately, rape victims that don't want to cooperate with law enforcement. Consent sometimes is an issue when it comes to sexual assault. You test that kit, you prove that they had sex, but both people are saying they did. One's saying it was forced, and the other is saying it was consent. So, we had this huge cold case program, and we tiered out the sexual assault rape kits based on, was it violent? Was it somebody that didn't know the person? Was it a break-in? Was it a child? Those got priority. So by the time the legislature in 2013 passed this law, we had about 700 kits that were low priority that, because of consent and those types of issues, we hadn't gotten to. The problem with that law at the time, and I know the Denver Crime Lab was saying, you fund us too, and the other labs, and they didn't do that. So Denver, and I think there were a number of other labs then, just said, okay, we have no money to do this because you didn't provide us any. You've passed this law that says this kit's got to be tested. We're taking it up to CBI. And so my understanding is on one day, and I advised on this because I was still the DA, they took 700 untested rape kits up to CBI. And they were like, well, we thought you'd do your own, and you got all the money, so here you go. And then I think about 150 kits went up to CBI from Denver every year after that. It's interesting that we'd done a good job going through the probative value of those cases, and really had, when it came back after they did that first group of cases, I think we filed 2 of them. And they were both the same fact scenario, 2 separate cases. They were something that we hadn't thought would be uncovered, and then from then out, we didn't send them any more of that type of case. But I think that this backlog would not have been as big as it is now had the legislature not done one of those unfunded mandates that they so often do, and this was one. And then also this, just throw a net over everything instead of thinking about it, prioritizing it, that kind of thing. Then what everybody hears about when it comes to this backlog is this analyst, Missy Woods. And I know Missy Woods. Obviously, I never put her on a witness stand or anything because I used the Denver Crime Lab and all the great analysts that work there. So she was working at CBI. Denver doesn't really need CBI because Denver has a full-service crime lab and does an excellent job. But I think a big part of what I see and what our report touches on a little bit is that this is somehow Missy Woods' problem and her fault. And, she's got to face a lot of charges and things, and everybody's read about that in the media. But I think that there's more to it than that, and I think it will come out.
That's Mitch Morrissey. He's now the Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow at the Common Sense Institute. Previously, a storied 33-year career with the Denver District Attorney's Office, serving 12 years as Denver's District Attorney. Let's talk what the report finds, which is that in light of not only delayed justice coming from this backlog, there's a lot of other issues that Coloradans are facing because of this DNA backlog. Talk to us about your report.
Well, our report, I think, is kind of, to a degree, you're like, well, it's going to cost us $21 million or more to get this backlog done. But I think you got to keep in mind that when you're talking about sexual assault, and we do these financial impact studies on all kinds of crime. The second most expensive crime, second to murder, is rape, sexual assault. So we are talking about when it costs society, when it costs victims, the years of post-traumatic stress, all of those things they have to go into, we take those into account. So we figure $21 million to get this backlog reduced. That is going to save the taxpayers, the community of Colorado 10 times that, over 10 times that. So that's one of our critical findings, is that it may be 21 million to catch up here, but it's going to be 234 million savings. And that kind of savings comes in preventing sexual assaults, because we talk about the statistics on how many sex assaults will a rapist, a career serial rapist, commit during their career. And if you can stop that at the front end with DNA, you're going to save money. I mean, the one thing we know, and it's been consistent since 2012, studies about DNA. When you have DNA and a database, that is the most cost-effective dollar you can spend in law enforcement to prevent crime, to solve murders, to solve rapes, that kind of thing. So, you know, the problem I have with this backlog is that I believe it's impacting all of the DNA work that's being done by CBI. You know, I have a company now, it's called United Data Connect. We solve cold cases with DNA and with genetic genealogy. And so we use genealogy to solve these cases. And we work with a lot of Colorado agencies that work with CBI. So, for instance, the Arapahoe County Coroner's Office, we're trying to identify a John Doe, unidentified remains, and they're waiting over a year for CBI. Now, that's not a rape kit. You know, that's DNA on a blood card that's sent to CBI to get a profile that may help them identify this poor individual that was found dead under a bridge. They're saying they're waiting over a year. That's unacceptable. I mean, even if you take the Missy Woods problem, and obviously, you know, you can't cut corners when you do this work. CBI had an unacceptable backlog before they even realized it. They had a 9-month backlog. Now, that's way too long. In the statute in 2013, they set kind of 180 days, or actually a 90-day turnaround time. That's what we're talking about here. So, you know, every lab has a backlog. The question is, how do you manage it? How do you take care of it? And how much is it costing to not be doing that properly?
We're talking with Mitch Morrissey. He's the Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow at the Common Sense Institute. To the point that you're bringing out about this backlog, attesting, what you guys have found in your report, attesting costs about $2,000 per kit, and adjudication, public service, and work loss costs totally $82,000 per case. Clearing the backlog and prosecuting cases associated with it will cost the state $21 million. In return, Colorado's economy will eventually save $234 million due to prevention of future crimes. You also point out that by processing the 1,300 DNA kits in the state's backlog, Colorado could prosecute up to 200 rape cases. This would prevent 1,000 sexual assaults from taking place, 108 other violent crimes, 230 property offenses, and 113 drug and alcohol, public disorder, and other crimes.
Yeah. Well, wow. One thing about these rapists, they don't just commit rape.
That's exactly
and
right.
We know that through other studies that we've done at the Common Sense Institute, but also the national studies and the certain formulas that we use to come up with these numbers. You know, they're well accepted throughout the community, and so it's not like we just make this stuff up, but you know, that's the kind of prevention that we're talking about. You know, I came up in Denver I worked there from 1983 on, and I remember before DNA, because I put on the first DNA case in Denver. It was a serial burglar who also would rape women if they were home. And I remember, you know, and you can just go back, the Rocky Mountain News, the Denver Post, if people remember those two newspapers, they'd have headlines and they'd give titles to these serial rapists, like the Highline Canal rapist, Cherry, you know, the Washington Park rapist, And because these guys would go on for years and be raping numerous women, and then DNA started tying them together, and then the DNA database started giving us their names so we could stop them with the first or second rape that they did, as opposed to waiting 10 years and having them do that. So that phenomenon has pretty much gone down quite a bit, but it shows you how active these rapists can be, and that's only rapes. It doesn't talk about the burglary charges, the other charges that we take into account that these individuals are responsible for.
That's Mitch Morrissey, the Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow at the Common Sense Institute. You'll also remember him from his work as the Denver District Attorney. Joining Jeff and Bill live in studio, we are talking about the backlog of DNA testing that is happening at CBI. Over 1,300 cases still need to be processed. Now, what I want to ask you, Mr. Morrissey, is how difficult is it to prosecute a case when it has taken so long for the testing to be done? You talked earlier about sometimes coming back up to 18 months later and going back to the victim, and now you're trying to put a case together. This delay, how does it impact the DA's effectiveness to process the crime and prosecute it?
Well, obviously, you've got to try these cases to a jury of 12 people. You never know what they're going to be thinking. And so obviously the delay may be something that they factor in, and when they're making their decision, if evidence was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The one thing that I found out, though, in doing all of the cold cases that we did in Denver, we re-examined 5,500 cases. And of those cases, we sent about 13 of them. We found potential DNA, sent them to the Denver Crime Lab. We solved 800 cases. And what we found is that we couldn't prosecute all of those, but the 130 or so that we prosecuted, those victims were ready and willing, if they were still alive, to go forward.
And that's the question that I had for you to follow up on that, and that's Mitch Morrissey, Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow at the Common Sense Institute, former Denver DA. What is it like coming back to the victims after so much time has passed? And I was focusing in this on the violent crime of rape, and you have a woman that is trying to put her life back together. She's trying to go forward and put this horrible tragedy behind her, but now it comes up again months later. She has to not only revisit it, but be willing to walk into court and tell everybody else what happened to her. How difficult is it to go back to those victims and talk about it? Or do those victims finally look at you and say, thank God you're here because I finally want to participate in putting this so-and-so behind bars? Talk to us about going back to those victims after this kind of delay.
Well, I think that a lot of times the decision to go forward is made by the victim at the time of the rape kit. A lot of victims are like, I'm here to find out if I got a venereal disease, if I got, if I was exposed to a disease or something, but I'm not interested in prosecuting. And sometimes they make that decision then. And that's really, I think, kind of sad, because the rape kit is then done under state law, has to be tested, becomes part of this backlog. But oftentimes we would then catch someone. We recently solved a case where an individual was working out in Jeffco. We used DNA, we used genealogy, we got to that individual, and Denver had 2 rape kits of victims that didn't want to cooperate. They were approached by the detective. One of them said, no, I'm still not cooperating. The other said, I'm cooperating. And both those cases are moving forward now.
That's nice to see, that because they've had the space, maybe instead of it being you're dredging up a horrible thing from my past, that I have dealt with it, and now I'm at a point in my life where I want to hold this so-and-so accountable. I'm ready to take him on, where they may not have been ready because they may have felt so violated and such a victim early on. They may be stronger later on. I hadn't considered that. That's interesting.
Well, a lot of times, and some of the costs that go into this particular crime is getting treatment for victims, and oftentimes they won't even address that they need it until like 5 years after the fact,
because of the shame.
Well, there's shame in that and all those things. But the other thing that you need to understand is there Oftentimes, rapists say, "Hey, you reported, I'm coming back."
Because I know where you are.
I'm going to hurt
you.
your children.
Yeah.
They're looking over their shoulders, and that's a big part of this crime. And you can relieve them of that if you use DNA. Hopefully they can help you, but oftentimes they didn't see their attacker. They got attacked while they were sleeping, hit from behind, I've seen it where pillows were put over. They couldn't ID, but DNA ID'd for them. And they showed up and they testified. And, I tried a number of serial rapists where we'd have 6 or 7 victims and they would come in. And sometimes we didn't get the results, sometimes a hung jury, that kind. Next time you tried it, they were back again. Or you were trying them for another rape and all of the victims would come. And I can give you examples of that. Cheeseman Park rapist, that's what happened. It got tried like 2 or 3 times. And the time I tried it, those victims were there, and they wanted that man held accountable. And then we're talking about horrible things that were done to them in the course of the burglary, sexual assault. Short of being killed, I can't imagine what they went through other than listening to it from the witness stand.
That's Mitch Morrissey, now with the Common Sense Institute, formerly district attorney for the city of Denver. So I just want to wrap my mind and make sure I fully understand the problem here. 2013, the state legislature says all rape kits have to go through a DNA test. That then increased the amount of pressure upon CBI and others, because prior to that, district attorneys were being judicious with regards to prioritizing certain ones, going, these are ones we got to get the tests on. Now we have to test everything, so it's just so much, it's backlogged the system. So is the policy prescription then further funding for the CBI in order to be able to test and improve their facilities and handle the amount of rape kits they need to test? Or is it allowing DAs to go back to a more judicious use of DNA testing as opposed to having to test every rape kit? Your thoughts, sir?
I don't think you'll see Colorado reverse the idea that every rape kit needs to be tested. And we touched on that in our report. We talked about the benefits that you do get testing all rape kits, even though you may not prosecute the individual. I mean, I would think your listeners would be saying, we're going to spend $21 million and we're going to get this backlog of over 1,300 cases done, and you're only going to prosecute 200 of these people? But you need to understand that things happen in life, like you can't prosecute a man that's died. In the business that I'm in at United Data Connect, we solve cases as far back as 1963. Well, you think about it, that guy is 80-something years old now. We have a lot of perpetrators that have passed away. Oftentimes the victim has passed away or is no longer competent to testify. So, there's always going to be some degree of, well, that doesn't seem like a big number to me, statewide, 200. But if you remember, like we talk about in the report, these guys are active. If they remain active, there's going to be a lot of people that suffer at their hands. So, I really think that that's not going to get reversed. But I think the legislature is kind of figuring out that now we have regional crime labs like Jeffco that services all of Jeffco instead of CBI, that Denver has always served Denver instead of CBI. But the people of Denver pay state taxes. So why not give Denver the money to reduce the backlog that they are sending up to CBI? They don't have the funds to do this. I remember in 2013 talking to the director of the Denver Crime Lab. I said, well, what would it take for you to comply with the law? He said, I'd have to hire 2 analysts. 2 analysts to do non-probative cases, Greg, doesn't advance the ball as far as a prosecutor goes. Send those up to CBI. If CBI says no, call me back, because people of Denver pay state taxes. I'll take them to court if they won't do those cases. So now Denver is one of the labs that's getting paid this $2,000 to reduce this this backlog. And, you know, had they gotten that money up front, if the legislature this year would have addressed this issue like we have, you know, that's the conclusion of our report, is you can't ignore these other crime labs. If you want to have a state that tests all rape kits, you need to pay for it. And you need to pay those labs that have their own cases, that have the capacity to do this work. Give them the funding that it takes to do this, and don't bury CBI with it.
Well, and this seems like one of those funding issues that would cross party divides, right? So you get the Republicans are going, we want to be tough on crime. DNA becomes a way to get the conviction, ensure the conviction, particularly the bad guys. We want to get them off the street. Right. If you're more progressive and you care about the rights of the perpetrator, well, if you're innocent, this is going to clear you. So you're not put in jail in a bad situation. So it seems like this call for funding would cross both party lines.
This is a nonpartisan issue. If you care about crime, if you care about taking people that are raping and killing people, women and children in your community off the streets, I don't think that's a partisan. That's a completely nonpartisan issue, and you know, it just amazes me that somebody would even imply that. I think that this was in 2013. I remember it was kind of a, oh yeah, everybody clapping each other on the back, both sides. But it really wasn't a thoughtful bill at the time. And I kind of rang the bells. I know that the director of the Denver Crime Lab went to every single meeting he could and said, provide us with some of this money and we'll get this backlog, our part of this backlog done. Yeah. But remember, you had to comply with the law, but they only funded CBI. So, you know, it's a completely unfunded mandate to any of the other labs out there. You know, I drove out here this morning, and there's a brand new lab that services Arapahoe County and Douglas County because of George Brockler, because of people like that. I read the stories where Boulder said they're no longer going to use CBI because they don't trust them. And they've had some cases that they've had to dispose of that they otherwise wouldn't have, that type of thing, all geared around this Missy Woods thing. But, you know, there are other places that are doing fine work. I work with Jeff Coe's Crime Lab all the time in what we're doing, in what we're trying to solve those cases. And they don't worry about what CBI is doing. They're knocking those cases out. But you can only, when you have an unfunded mandate, I think it's unfair to expect those, and their only option is then to send it to CBI, which, in my opinion, can be an inferior lab to some of these other labs that we have in the state of Colorado. Colorado Springs has a DNA section in their northern Colorado has a lab where it's a regional lab. So, you know, there's good work being done across the state of Colorado, but it's got to be funded.
Shaking fists at the state legislature perfectly describes my career, Mitch. Thank you, Mitch Morrissey, Owens-Early Criminal Justice Fellow with the Common Sense Institute. Go read the report and support the great work of the Common Sense Institute by visiting commonsenseinstituteus.org. commonsenseinstituteus.org. I'm a donor and supporter of the great work that they're doing. Mitch used to partner with George, who sat in the seat for many years, to raise awareness of this and get better public policy for our state. Mitch, next time I want to dive. I'm a huge cold case crime guy. Typically, once I'm done with work, I go have lunch and watch 2020. So next time, I want to hear some of the stories that you guys and some of the cases you guys have been working on. But thank you for taking time to join us today.
Yeah, and I'm really worried about the fact that Jeff is asking about that because I'm still concerned that someday he's going to run solo and look for a place to hide the body. Now, just saying.
Let me say one thing. I have this incredible genealogist that works for me. I have a number of others, but she runs the team of genealogists. Her name is Joan Hanlon, and what Joan said is, make sure you tell everybody that has had their DNA tested in Ancestry, 23andMe, to upload to GEDmatch, because that will help us solve cases. It's a voluntary system. You can upload it for free. and she'll be really happy that you guys gave me the moment to mention this.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Say it again, GEDmatch?
GEDmatch.com. You go there, you take the data that you got from Ancestry or one of these MyHeritage, and you can upload it for free there, and you can click the button that says, I want to help law enforcement solve these cold cases.
Now, I got to tell you, Mr. Morrissey, I'm a former Mullen grad, so just in case there are any Regis grads out there in the audience, can you spell GEDmatch for them so they know where to go?
It's JED match.
All right, thank you. That'll help.
And I'm a Mullen graduate also.
Hey, my man.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit older one.
Oh yes, but again, the whole idea is if anybody in your group all of a sudden says St. John Baptist de La Salle, the response is always pray for us. Live Jesus in our hearts forever.
That's true.
Mitch Morrissey, great work. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Man, Bill, we are having a lot of fun today.
Yes, we are.
Big debates happening, lots of callers, jam-packed phone lines, text messages, Mitch Morrissey joining us, and now the legendary Pete Boyles is live in studio
and I was
to preview what he's doing.
The show's good, guys.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
that whole debate on whether or not the family should have been, that was brilliant. I don't know which one of you two came up with it, but that was really good.
Believe me, it was by accident.
Yeah, oftentimes that's how it works. Bill and I are having a good time, and then all of a sudden it's
That
like,
was really good. Very good.
Less filling. Great taste. Less filling. Great taste. And it just goes from there.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Well, thank you, brother. Pete, what do you got Saturday? 9 to 1.
Another one of the sleepers. The book is entitled The Final Witness. The guy's name is Paul Landis. He was the Kennedy Secret Service agent that hasn't spoken in 60 years. He was in Dallas. He was behind the Lincoln. He was running after he saw John Kennedy shot into Parkland Hospital. And he's the one that found the bullet, put the bullet on the stretcher, if you remember that story. Yeah. And then he tells a story that I've never read before, and I'm kind of a geek about it. The fight that they had inside of Parkland, where it was a Texas murder. Jack Kennedy was murdered in Texas. No one knew who did it. They were on Oswald's trail, but they didn't know, and they were going to try and keep the body in Parkland. And the Secret Service guys who loved the Kennedys went out and got a casket, brought it into Parkland, and put his body in it, and literally had to fight to get out. And he never was called before the Warren Commission. He never watched the Zapruder film. He never read the Warren Commission report until like 2018. He witnessed all of it. He was assigned to Mrs. Kennedy. He traveled with her, along with Clint Hill, the legendary Clint Hill. And then after about 10 months, he said, I can't do this. And he resigned and went on to another career, but he's never said a word. His name's Paul Landis, and he's going to give us 2 hours on Saturday. So
you always get these, major authors.
But remember, my job versus your job. You have to get up in the morning, and I don't have to do that.
You made the smarter
choice. I don't have
choice.
to get here, and I get to pick. But he was 28 years old when Jack Kennedy was murdered.
And 2 hours of a deep dive, 9 to 1. Yeah. You'll cover. It's right after John Caldera.
What right now Adam is putting it together. What we're going to do, and then all the times we've had conversations about the voting machines.
Yes.
Isn't that a joke in the courtrooms now this morning?
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, I'm not even talking about the machines.
Not even going to put up a defense on.
No, they call it. What do they call it?
It's called the George Costanza
defense,
or
if you believe
Peter Pan.
Tank comes back alive.
Yeah, exactly.
But you guys are doing such a good job. Really,
thank you.
I mean, when I'm listening to talk radio, I thought it was great. So, but this guy,
that's amazing.
I don't know what you do with him. I'll put him on the spot and say, "What do you believe? Do you believe the commission?"
The ultimate conclusion.
Yeah,
right.
He was there. He saw
he was there.
Imagine.
Could you imagine hearing that gunshot, watching your president die before your eyes,
and running behind and watching Clint Hill climb up on the trunk with Jackie, and he loved Jackie Kennedy, and he loved the kids, and he took Macaroni was Caroline Kennedy's horse. And they snuck the horse into the White House, and he has this thing where Carolyn said, "I want to see. My dad wants to see me on the horse." So he takes Carolyn Kennedy on Macaroni. They go across the White House lawn. They go in the back door of the Oval Office, and they go in the Oval Office with the horse, and Jack Kennedy said, "Not a very good idea, Mr. Landis." but he loved it. He went with Aristotle Onassis. We went with Jackie Kennedy on the yacht, and there's all those stories. And so
you have him this Saturday.
He's here. The final witness, Paul Landis.
Pete Boyles.
Thanks, guys.
Never miss it. It's always a great broadcast, especially you going around doing all those errands on Saturday. You got to tune in. 9 to 1, 710 KNUS. Peter Boyles live in studio with us. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Always great to have Peter Boyles, the legendary Pete, live in studio with us. He's fantastic listening on the weekends.
Oh, it's wonderful.
You get these deep dives with these authors. That's just perfect chore. Listening,
and
right?
Jeff
You're
and I are
around
barely
working on the
literate,
ranch.
so,
Us, we're fighting back and forth. We got
Yes.
the calls, we got the news, all that.
Yeah.
But when you want that weekend deep dive into a particular issue, he's perfect at it.
Oh, yeah. And weekend radio is a little bit different. He goes deep into this one. He's going to go backwards and forwards, and he knows this assassination.
Yep.
This will be a great conversation. Don't miss it.
So today, high of 70 degrees. We got afternoon thunderstorms coming in. Thursday, severe storms, as well as Friday. We're going to get hammered here, okay? If you're like us, your AC's on for part of the day, your heater's on the other part of the day, so you're bouncing back and forth. If you run into HVAC problems, guys, we got the solution for you. It's L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. They came out to our house, nailed it. One-day installation, no stress, personal service from start to finish. They've even followed up to make sure everything was perfect. Their manager came out on a Sunday afternoon to make sure that everything was great. These guys are mom and pops, local HVAC company, and they're doing great work in the Parker, Elizabeth area, all over Denver. Have been out to their place, met them. Here's the deals they're offering right now. A free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector with new furnace or air conditioner installation. $0 trip fee. Free estimates. 5-year labor warranty. Visit bestdenverhvac.com. L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. Here's their phone number, 720-851-1691. 720-851-1691. Everything works great at our house. Our family couldn't be happier. L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. Their website again, bestdenverhvac.com. bestdenverhvac.com. By Saturday, it's going to be 80 and then 81 on Sunday. Oh, boy. So storms and cold weather to hot weather, L&L Heating and Air Conditioning will get you through all of it. All right, we had an absolutely fire show, jam-packed phone lines. Thank you to everybody who joined us. We love you. That's why we are Denver's top talk radio show, because of people like you joining the conversation. We'll be back tomorrow. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Enjoy your Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.